pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Deb, turn your microphone on.
I'd like to introduce Hartman. He does have more names, but we've already decided we're gonna use one.
Why don't you go ahead and give us a little introduction of yourself and what you're all about, and then we'll start firing at you.
Oh, perfect. My name is Hartman Alley. I was born and raised in Wausau, Michigan. My degrees are from Michigan State University and Central Michigan University. My entire life, all I wanted to do is make a difference and have a positive legacy left behind. I understand that these buildings last longer than we do, and I want to be a great public servant. My undergraduate degree from Michigan State is in political science. I thought I could make a difference in politics. I tried at the state level. I tried at the county level. It's a lot harder than it looks. While I was at the county, our administrator was arrested for embezzling. And I went from chairperson to de facto county employee and administrator. I learned that I liked that position a lot more. It was a difficult position because the other commissioners look at you like you're just one of them. Whereas from 8 to 5, all the county employees, all 223 Shiawassee County employees are looking for me to solve their problems and help them. I am here today because I applied for this job because I believe the community should have a quality public education, strong public safety, and constantly be working on their infrastructure. And the village of St. Charles is doing all of those things. I look at the short-term financial planning of this community. It's in a great position. I look at the young families that are here. I say young, the average age of the community is a little bit older than I am. But I'm happy to be here, I'm excited to be here, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions, and if there's anything on my resume I can clear up. You know, my master's is in public administration. This is something I've wanted to solve problems my entire life, and I look forward to your questions.
Fire away at him.
Now, are we going, are these just suggested questions?
Yep.
Or, okay, all right.
And if the answer leads to another question, ask it.
Do you want to start at one end and go this way? How do you guys want to do this? I have a question right
Just
away.
raise
Go
your
ahead.
hand.
You said you acted as the de facto administrator for the county?
Correct.
So is that the same thing as being a manager of the county?
Essentially, yes.
Okay. And you were just thrown into that position? Had you worked under them? Did you understand?
No, I was elected as a county commissioner,
Okay,
and the next week, the administrator went to jail for embezzling.
the next week?
So we had our meeting in January to figure out roles and positions, and I was elected chair, and had to take over there was a leadership board, and I wanted to fill it, and I see that here when Mr. Collison leaves.
Okay, and so did you write the budget or did you have budget writers?
I wrote the budget along with our
Okay.
CPA.
So you're the one that put everything together
Yep.
and made sure it come out
I met
right?
with all the department heads, all the elected
Okay.
officials, went through that, yes.
So you were a manager before, kind of.
Yeah.
You just didn't have the title
For 2 years, yes.
for 2 years. And you left there why?
My term was up,
Oh,
and we could not get a county administrator approved. So
oh,
I had to handle it.
so they don't have a county commissioner?
They added a comptroller after I left and hired
Okay.
one of their friends.
Okay, okay. That answered my question.
It was fun. I handled 14 of the 17 contract negotiations against the unions. This right here, I brought this after hearing last Wednesday's meeting. This is my arbitration with the Sheriff's Office Teamsters Union. I don't know
So
if
you-
that's gonna apply here in the future, but I'm just saying I've got a little experience.
Okay, because we don't. This is- Okay, so you dealt with unions too. Okay.
And I like to believe I won.
It's always hard to tell, isn't it?
It is hard to tell.
You walk away with a headache and you're not sure if you won or not, but
We have a mess going on now with, you know, the water and the sewer situation, if you've taken a look at any of that. Do you have any experience in those areas?
I do not. I I do not have experience in water and sewers. I did work in the summers for the city of Owasso, but I was a Department of Public Works employee rather than a water department employee. But I am a quick learner. I'll get into it and figure out whatever I need to do to get it done.
Have you followed any of the state regulations now that they're putting on communities at all?
I have, especially with Flint being so close to Owasso. I had worked in the governor's office right before the whole Flint debacle began. I do know the players involved, from Harvey Collins and Detroit Flint. And Nick Lyon actually appointed me to the Shiawassee County Department of Human Services Board. So I do have some loyalty to Mr. Lyon. And he's in a very tough spot, and he has a wonderful family, and so I feel for him. That said, putting copper lines back in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, this is happening everywhere. It's not just Flint, it's not here, it's up north, it's in Ann Arbor, it's in South Bend. This is a problem that's gonna go on for decades. And now's the time to start righting the ship. And it sounds like last week, the DPW director is working on getting those lines fixed, and Owasso's a little behind on that, and they'll tell you that it's not copper, but we all know it is going into their house, so.
Since we have all this work ahead of us, do you have experience in grant writing?
I have worked on, so before I got to Shiawassee County, we did not have a drug court. So when I left, we ended up having a drug court. They were working on a grant for Veterans Court before I left as well. I worked with the Sheriff's Office on the Office of Highway Planning I worked on other grants to get vests for our Sheriff's Office. That's the other thing that happened before I came into office. After the county administrator was arrested, they cut the budget and eliminated all of our road patrol. So we had no sheriffs on the road, which led to panic by the public wondering if we were gonna have support. So I drove over to Flint, met with state police to make sure that we're gonna have 24/7 coverage. Our rural areas are really concerned. So I worked on grants to get, by the time I left, we had 12 road patrol sheriffs out back on the road through grants and money savings surplus. If you saw the budget numbers, my first budget produced an $800,000 surplus. Budgets in Shiawassee County that year was $15.4 million. My second year was $16.3 million, and it led to a $500,000 surplus. That's from fiscal prudency, everybody understanding that we're in tough, dire economic times perpetually now. You don't know when the state's gonna take things away from you. So, long story short, I do have experience with grant writing.
Thank you.
We're in a position right now where we're gonna be doing some updating on infrastructure. How much experience have you had with bond writing?
Bond writing, we worked on bonds, so, for the medical care facility in Shiawassee County. So I became chairman of that board, after I leaving office, and we built a $23.3 million brand new medical care facility in Shiawassee County through bonds. I worked with the attorneys on that, and, we came in under budget, came in under time. We transported over 100 residents, some with dementia, smoothly. And so that's my experience with bonds. We have been working on the bond with the Mystigate Creek, as you all know, Shiawassee County, or Saginaw County. And so that wasn't completed under my supervision, but the talks began and the bond work began.
Yeah, we don't write the bonds.
I'm not writing.
Yeah,
I
other
meant
people,
secure.
you just get a bonding attorney. and
Making
they
sure the
do
attorney did his job, but
Yeah,
I
that's-
did do that, yes.
You did his job, okay.
Yeah.
How do you see the relationship between the village manager and the village council?
It's gotta be one of trust. Any good leader works with trust. I have to be credible in order for you to trust me. If you don't trust me, it's gonna be a terrible relationship. I'm here to carry the water for you. You're the ones that are elected, you're out in the community, they're telling you what they want, you're bringing me back their ideas. It's my job to bring them to fruition. It's my job to tell you when you're being crazy. It's my job to find a better way to do it. I don't want the credit, I'll take the blame, but if it's something that we need to get it done, and that's the relationship, is how can I help you? How do I make your life easy? Whether I'm the swan that looks like I'm floating, but I'm really paddling like kite under the water. That's my role.
You could, your office is would be very close to the front door, but you can't be seen. And you can hear people come in and they'll start yelling at Marguerite, who's not here tonight. And I'm just wondering how you would handle a situation when an irate person comes in the front door. They obviously can't get beyond the front door, but what would you do? Do you sit in the office and hear it out? Do you come out and talk to them? How would you handle a situation like that?
I spent 2 years, my first 2 years in Governor Snyder's office in the Constituent Relations Department. Our job is to take the emails, the calls, and the letters from angry constituents. That's all I did for 2 years. In fact, one time, a gentleman called and said, "I'm coming up to Lansing right now, I have a gun, I'm going to shoot you." This is in the Romney building right across from the Capitol. Security calls and says, "So-and-so's here, wants to see you." The same person that said they're coming, I said, "Don't let them in." That led to the next day I got a buzzer underneath my desk because I was close to the door. They could see where the state police would come over. That said, for 2 years, I was diplomatic. I listened. It's leadership through listening is what I call it. I let them vent, but you have to find the root of their problem. What are they really complaining about? The same with Caleb. What was Caleb's real issue? Was it the $769, or was it the fact he didn't catch the leak, or the fact that he didn't know that he was built on sand? You let him go, and you guys did a wonderful job on that. Now, I would have maybe handled it differently. I would have said, "Hey, I'll pay the $100 for you, but if it comes back and shows that the meter's right, we're gonna set up a payment plan for you. You're gonna pay all $769, but I'll pay the $100." And
I
so
thought of that.
And that's one of those
Yeah.
things where I believe diplomacy is the answer. Find the root of their problem. What is the real issue? Did they just have a bad day? Are they just looking for someone to beat up on? Because I'll take it. I mean, after Governor Sutter's first education budget, his transportation budget, cutting pensions, I took all those calls.
Okay.
I mean, when you cut people's pensions, they weren't very happy.
One of those were mine.
Yeah.
What's
Why you think I knew your name, Dennis?
what is your style of keeping everybody informed, the council?
Everybody's different. It's just like coaching. Every player's different. But if you want a phone call, I'll call you. If you want to email, I'll email you. If you want face-to-face, if I have to stop by your house on the way home, I'll do that. If you like texting, I'll text you. My commissioners were the same way. I knew John, I had to show up to his house. I knew Bartsy was gonna send me an email about 17 pages long and wanted every question answered. So I knew on my Saturday mornings, I'm responding to a 17-page paper. Luckily, I was still in grad school, so a lot of what I needed, I could cut and paste. But I knew that Mr. Holzhausen, I couldn't text, I couldn't email, I had to call him, or call his wife's phone, because he wasn't gonna answer. And so, it depends on your personal preference. I'm here for you, again. I'm here to carry the water.
What about the community at large? We have a lot of commissions that the manager is expected to attend and prepare the, agendas and things for. About dealing with them, and then also just other people out in the community. What's your experience with dealing with just the community at large?
I think it's huge. It's a way to shed a good light on what we're doing here. It's a way to show that I'm available. It's a way to gather information, especially with the other commissions. Whether for us it was solid waste, whether it was Healthy Shiawassee. I try to get on as many boards as possible just so I knew what was going on. There's a lot of times people get frustrated because they don't have information. I find that a lot. If I call you and someone calls you out in the street because I didn't tell you something, you're not gonna be mad at that person, you're gonna be mad at me because you don't have the information. So for me, it's about gathering information, it's putting a good face, someone to blame if need be, someone that they can relay information to. I'd be happy to be that person, but you can't know what's going on if you're not out there doing those things. And then
Well-
sometimes you can catch problems early, especially in some of those smaller commission meetings.
Yeah, as a village manager here, you're like the executive director of the DDA, you're everything. And on top of all that, you don't have a whole bunch of people that are going to write budgets and do things for you. You're gonna have Jenny, who's great, and Marguerite. but there are no like all these departments sitting out there. You are the department, you are everything here. So, do you have a problem with that? That's different from what you're used to?
Not at all.
No?
If anything, I think it's better. As I stated, there's 184 full-time employees to 223. That's a little too big. I
Okay,
think here would be a lot, more up my alley.
okay,
I can see what's going on. I don't have other elected officials who make 10 times more than I do, telling me that I don't know anything,
no, you don't.
and that's a huge advantage.
Just
You don't like that, Mark?
No.
But, I mean, you guys can still tell me I don't know anything, but
Yeah,
again, it's about relationships too.
mhm.
That's another way leadership comes through. It's through relationships, social interaction.
And you would use all of these people that you know as helpful to you. If you had like a question, you have no problem calling someone and saying, hey, this just came up. What would normally happen? What do you suggest? I'm just trying to get some stuff together to figure out.
His institutional knowledge is gonna be the biggest loss of this place. You all have it as well, but the things he knows.
Oh, I worked for him for
yeah.
7 years. Yeah.
That's it, and that's
He
gonna be,
made me what I am today.
Oh,
that's my first call. And I know you might not answer it, but that's my first call, then I go from there. And
Well-
that's the advantage of being in
Mhm.
the honor society that I was in at CMU is it's all people who are in this role who are doing this who see
All the
problems.
networking and all the stuff that
Correct.
goes on. Well, you also have in this town 2 people who were managers here, and are still here and willing to
Wow.
help. Yeah, but so is Hal.
Yeah, so it's how.
And Hal's even better at DPW and stuff, so that's a good thing. But
At Shiawassee County, I didn't know I was going into that role to
Right.
begin with, and then to be thrown to the wolves, so to speak. You had to rely on other people.
Yep.
And that's where the trust is, you know, if I had to call the clerk or a judge, hey, judge, we're cutting your budget, you might wanna come over and talk to me. You know, the first thing I was told when I won the election is rule number 1, don't piss off the judges. And, I tried to
Yes.
abide by that as long as
Kind
I
of
could, in
important,
case I
yeah.
had in front of one of them.
yeah, we learned that here when one of the cops wrote a ticket to a judge. We have one grant project to finalize, and we may have 2 other grant projects to start new construction season. Do you have any experience in writing and completing grant projects?
With help, I'll be honest, again, the grants I wrote for were for drug court, so that Shiawassee County didn't have to pay for anything. We got all the grants from the state. I went through the Parks and Rec plan last week. I realized that people voted they want a splash pad, so I started looking for
Yeah,
grants.
but we're not getting that, so it's not a problem.
Right. But I'm telling you what I did, is I
Yes.
went looking for different grants for those projects. That said, great relationships with state departments, MDOT, et cetera, to look for grants for those reasons.
Well, and we use-
connections, a lot of people I worked with in the governor's office or the House of Representatives are now liaisons
Okay.
in those departments. And
Yeah.
those are resources I would tap.
There are people in the audience who want the splash pad, so they
Please.
So that's, what encouraged you to apply here for the manager position?
As I stated before, community needs 3 things for me to look forward to applying towards this job, and it's quality education, which you have here. It's strong public safety, and it's constantly working on infrastructure. So I helped Governor Slender with his infrastructure message back in 2012, and they tried to raise $1.4 billion more per year. And so I understand, you know, a lot of things going on. I just learned today that they're looking to use beet juice on roads instead of just salt, because it's sticky, lasts longer, and it doesn't contaminate once it rolls off the road. So it's something about always learning. I believe in this community. I trust the people here. I came to the meeting last Wednesday just to see what am I getting into. Should I be fortunate enough?
You picked one of our better meetings.
Yeah.
You picked a meeting after we got Dennis as a temporary manager, so we've been really busy.
But the size interests me. You know, I'm looking for someplace I can work 20, 25 years and make a difference. And it's not too far away. My fiance is an elementary school principal and can't just uproot too far, so it's within our community and within our availability.
We expect a manager to be active in the community. and in the Michigan Municipal League.
Mhm.
Please give examples of any activities you've been involved in at other communities or places of business.
Well, I am the one that got Shiawassee County back in the municipal league, the
Okay.
MML. It's $10,000, I believe, just to tap into those resources. They didn't think it was important, but I knew once I left, there would be a void because of no administrator. So I see the value in them at home. Again, I coach, I teach, part of the Performing Arts Center. I was on the DHHS board, which is a devastating board where you basically go approve money for children of poverty who are being abused. It's a tough meeting to sit through. I also joined the board for the Medical Care Society, so that my mom has a place to go when she eventually needs to go someplace.
Mhm.
I believe in being active in the community. I attend the football games. I look forward to watching maybe a team win once in a while. My team.
And I hear
No,
you.
we haven't won in 4 years. I think.
Go to girls' sports
Okay.
here.
There you go,
Yeah.
there you go. Basketball.
Again, you can't learn about the
Yeah.
community if you're not present, and that's important. I attend church.
I generally don't ask questions or make a statement, but since you're on that subject, they do have a 20-mile radius, live-in radius.
Yes, I heard that last meeting.
And if you live in the community, there's a $5,000
I
bonus.
did hear that.
Okay.
And Mr. Lane jumped on that rather quickly as well. That said, I think my boundaries are exactly 20 miles at this time.
I knew that could be an issue with you, so I thought it'd probably be brought up.
That's state law though now, isn't it?
That's the most we can.
That's the most we can enforce.
Just 20.
Okay,
It used to be we could make them live here.
yeah.
What do you feel is your greatest strength?
I want to say budgeting based on just the surplus numbers.
In a weak area you might have then?
Great question. It's on the record.
She's writing like mad.
I was gonna say empathy towards unions, but as far as when they come, it's hard to give away the farm when you only have a bucket of dirt.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to budgeting, and I take all this time and we build this surplus, I build the rainy day fund from $23,000 to over $400,000 in 2 years, and you come asking for money, and it's great to throw a pizza party when you have a little extra money, but you don't know what the economic downturn is gonna be. And so I like to save when others like to spend, so sometimes my impatience with, I'll do the right thing, you know, I did give a $500 bonus to each employee. They hadn't had a COLA or any cost of living wage in 9 years. I'll go out to the farmer's market, and I had friends from high school. Are we gonna be furloughed during Christmas? Are we gonna have jobs after Christmas? That's devastating to hear. Nobody wants that. So that would be something I need to work on. And again, going to battle with them kind of shaped some of that belief, but and I need to work on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm being too honest right now.
No,
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 like
that.
that.
That's good, never too honest.
No, you believe in honesty.
We have the Shiawassee Flats, river, duck hunting, so it is a big deal in this town. Deer hunting, fishing, what could you do to enhance those things?
Well, I came up here when I worked for the Department of Technology Management and Budget with Bruce Watkins over at the DNR here, and we went out looking at the deer. We're working on projects out back for the, what was it, not kayak launches, but you put in pillars and things to oversee and look at the water. How could I enhance the natural beauty that is? I'd like to work on some youth hunting targets as far as getting more people out and involved, whether it's myself paying for free fishing weekends, just to show people the outdoors. I think conservation's very important. It's the basis of a society, and I think people that learn to hunt and fish and protect their wildlife and the environment take care of it later in life more than people that don't.
Exactly.
We've always been told that our river is our biggest asset, but we've never quite figured out how. We've attempted.
Working on it.
We're working on it, you know?
Yeah.
How so?
And now Jim and I want a kayak launch. I mean,
Yeah,
we're all into this to put it on.
Right down here where
Kind
the
of
rail
goes along
trail
with
is.
what you're saying is, anything for the kids, anything for the elderly, anything that would be able to get them to be able to use it.
Okay.
So, those new kayak launches, a boat launch with a ramp, you know, even if you have to remove it every year,
Yeah.
that's so that they can get there. I mean, we do the fishing tournament, but sometimes the bank is so muddy, you know, you can't get to the river. It'd be nice if there was a place, like, look at Freeland, what they've done. You know, just access to what we have.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I want.
Healthy Shiawassee, I think we put in 2 to 3 kayak launches. Obviously, we're moving dams in Corona, they removed the Chi-Town Dam.
Yeah.
Working with Phil Hathaway, who's just an amazing amount of knowledge. That's someone I would tap into to try to see what he could do up here. He loves the work. He's retired. He's a former professor that this is all he cares about. So I kind of gave it to him, like, I want you to run with this. Well, went from 5 pages to 45 pages. We had a new Parks and Rec plan like this thick. So that's something that I'd be fully support and love to help out with.
Yeah. Just about anything inside the village or surrounding area is DNR, DEQ, and.
And the
it's-
county.
And
the
county,
county.
yeah.
Because the rail
it's-
trail is the county's.
Yeah,
So-
and it's constantly
But we
trying
contributed
to
to
butter
it.
that bread
Yeah.
Yep.
to get a little, you know,
I was on the Rail Trail Authority as a board member for Ionia, Shiawassee, Clinton.
Yeah.
And the fights over that from Belgium to Ionia to Fowler to St. John's was interesting, that we're all on the same team, yet the bickering and fighting and who's gonna
It's
know
odd.
what, but
Yeah.
that's experience that again.
It's all give and take.
Mm-hmm. So then, some weekends we go do it ourselves, so we didn't have to pay somebody $45 an hour to.
Yeah, I believe the fishing pier we were supposed to have is out on
Swan
Swan Creek
Creek Road.
Bridge.
Yeah.
They had more pull than we did. So they stuck it out there insteot of here,
Where there's
so.
not a lot of fish.
And there's no fish
No
there, you can
fish.
get fish out here.
There's not a lot of fish out there,
No.
not a lot of water.
Do you have any familiarity with the Shiawassee Friends of the River?
I'm
Okay,
a member,
you are a member?
yes.
So you're aware of that project, which, you know, we had discussed at one point. We had a meeting where we were hopeful to bring it, all that stuff down, you know, this area of the river as
River
well.
cleanup, the tire cleanup, things of that
Mhm.
nature. Yeah, it's a great project, it's a huge deal every year. Love to try something like
Near-
that.
We had it
Although-
here at one time, yeah.
Although the cooks are, you know, without the cooks, it kind of diminishes.
Well, that's
some.
that was here, we had it, and then the gentleman that were so into it and did it, all got old and
Yeah.
passed away,
Yeah.
so.
That's something I
Yeah,
definitely see we could bring back.
you have to find the right people for something like
The
that.
electronics, the drop off, that's been huge. We did one out in Langsburg, did a couple behind BG's in Owasso. But the old oil paint.
Oh, you'll be on the, authority, so,
But
the waste authority.
If you wanna stay on your time frame, you're getting close.
Right.
But if you
Does
got
anybody
good
have a
questions to
question
ask,
they
ask
can
them.
ask?
I'm good.
Is Sarah?
Anybody else have any questions?
Come on the other end, ask something.
No,
The other
I'm
end.
taking notes on everything,
The other
so.
end.
Got it?
Well, I guess there aren't any more questions. You've successfully got that far.
Do you have any for the board before you leave?
Yeah,
I do, and I
yeah.
think I know some of it, but I want to know what you see as the greatest challenge for the person coming in.
For me, I,
Community.
I'm intrigued.
Probably we all got something different.
Yeah.
Particularly, getting out with the people and working with the people, that's what I wanna see.
I'd say, yeah, definitely it'd be a challenge to get anybody after the last issue to trust again.
That's trust issue with
And
the community.
that's gonna be
Yeah.
a big one.
I'm looking for someone that can come in here and bring us all together again, the employees and the council, because we used to be a pretty cohesive unit, and now we've got broken apart. And I want someone that's able to bring us all back together again. And,
I mean, it's a little family.
It is a little, it's a little
We were,
family.
St. Charles has always done, I didn't grow up here, where all these other people did. And it's a different kind of community when you come in here, you know, most of the people who live here have been here all their lives. And it was very much family, like, you know, you knew, everybody knew, mostly everybody, and we
Yeah,
do
you
have
know
some
where
issues
John
with
Doe's
that.
house was 300 years ago.
I know.
I do.
That's it, yes.
But we do have a beautiful school now. I mean, we've got.
We do.
We do.
It's been
We've
We've
all
got a
Very-
done.
beautiful
very
school,
nice
and I'd
school.
like to see,
It's a great facility. I'd like to see it used.
I'd like to see
maximum.
what we have being used more, and I would like to see more people coming in to fill it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be nice to bring more people.
gonna be the- that's gonna be
And
the
someone
one.
that gets into the downtown and goes down and talks to
People.
all of the businesses and stuff, because I think half of them didn't know who he was,
Yeah,
never met him, so. But I think you work that way. I get the
Yeah.
feeling that you work that
You
way.
gotta be there, whether, I'd meet with the judges at 6 o'clock every Thursday, just so I knew what was going on in the courts, what big cases, what's happening, but also to support the local business.
Mhm.
So that Sandy knew that I wanted, you know, bacon with my pancakes.
yeah.
I mean,
It's nice to know, we'll tell you what we want,
Mhm.
but it's nice when, it's, like I say all the time, the police officers that drive through town and stop and play shoot a couple hoops
Yeah.
with my kids, they think the world. The guys that stop through, the DPW guys, and they say, hey, how's it going? Those are the best guys in the world. And with us, it's not as big a deal. We can, you know, we have to work together, but getting the people out there to, you know, to trust you and confide in you, and then you can bring that back, if they're not bringing it to us, that would be a big plus,
I like that.
yeah.
Well, I believe we've,
No, he has some questions.
Oh, I was just going
Oh,
through the
yeah.
performance dashboard, you know, the dependency ratio of pensioners is always a concern. I wrote my master's thesis, it's in here on pension systems. That said, the one that sticks out to me is the traffic injuries or fatalities. Why do you think that is?
Traffic injuries and fatalities.
Yeah, so it went, in 17, there was 24 traffic injuries or fatalities, and 18, there was 32.
Here?
Correct.
oh,
In the town
I've seen
itself?
nothing on the police report.
I haven't seen it. Have you seen it?
No.
I didn't see that.
I think
but-
it's been throughout the whole year in general is what he's saying, so.
Yeah, but
I
we-
just wonder, like, what?
We've only had one murder in this town in the last 50 years.
It's,
I
That's a
don't
fun
remember,
fact.
I don't remember a lot of car accidents where
I
people died.
No.
You're
Not
bringing
inside
something that
town.
we're weak in, communication between committees have,
Oh, wow.
there's
You might be
none.
looking at something like, is it a countywide thing or
It's a Village of St. Charles dashboard, it's on the website.
Is
really?
that a fact?
Wow.
And none of
We're
us
learning
here.
So we're giving you all that
Well, I
information, you're looking at it.
Not that. I haven't seen, all I see are police reports with a bunch of zeros on them.
Yeah.
And
a lot of them are too, where our cops aren't there. A lot of them at night are sheriff's departments
Sheriff,
or
state police.
state
Oh,
police that are
okay.
hitting them, so it's not gonna be
But
our
they're still
police
not in
officers.
Yeah,
town.
it's such a little.
No,
Well,
there's
yeah.
quite a few in the
There's
village.
such
I
a
hear them
little
all the
village.
time on the radio,
Okay.
all the time.
It's
Well,
a state,
I don't
it's
have
a,
any
the
answers
sheriff,
to
the state
that.
police, and our department all put a report to the state every month, and everything that happens in St. Charles goes in that report.
Yeah, because mainly at night, you're gonna see it's gonna be the county sheriff and the state bull that are gonna respond to these.
Well, I didn't
From what
know
you
that.
see,
What
what do you
else do
think
you know
would be-
about it that we don't know?
You know, I don't know why
I-
we didn't hear about
my,
that.
my last question,
Shouldn't be.
just wondering what is the pension contribution by employees?
The what?
The pension contribution to employees, 0? Okay. Just checking. Good to know.
Yes.
Anything else? You've got a
We
curious.
used to.
Well, I don't wanna
We
talk
have-
myself out of the job.
We have contributed, and then they didn't for a long, we haven't for a long time.
We'll all be looking on the website for this.
Right.
And you did
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
Has the
you
website
are in
been fixed yet?
negotiations right now?
Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
Okay.
First time.
So
And
Been
it's-
on there a
That's what I
while, so
heard.
you have to check it
I was
out.
wondering, you know,
We aren't very far.
talked about the
No,
previous,
you're not very far.
talking about the previous issue, if that was gonna be retroactive to that previous issue, and if, thinking here the other, last Wednesday, I thought if I was that union, I would take on that to show the others that I were supportive, and this is what we're gonna do for you, and try to get everybody to buy in, so, smart move on their part, but
Yeah.
just something to think about.
this is a small town, and things have really turned around lately, and people are liking what is happening. And when you've lived here all your life, I'm one, and you go anywhere, they'll say, how come that curb hasn't been fixed in 3 years?
Mhm.
And I say, go to the office and ask why, you know? But you hate to say anything out in public, but now we're hearing positive things more and more. I think if people in town have a problem and you listen and try to solve it, then they're happy.
And that speaks to why I applied here. With everything that's gone on that you read in the papers about St. Charles recently, people are still talking positively. That's amazing. Nowhere else would that happen.
Very positively lately.
I did look into grants, how we paint that water tower. That's one thing I looked into. I'd love it, like.
That's a new manager's job.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like
Here's
a
the
red and
brush.
white stripe, like almost like Tennessee Vows, like that, those checks, and then
That's where we test your
my painting
agility.
skills.
Yeah,
You're doing it yourself,
The,
right?
the art stuff you said you was involved with.
Alright. Well, thank you for your time, I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Good luck and.
We'll be in touch shortly. We're not gonna
Yeah.
drag it out, so.
Yeah,
He's not staying
way.
that long.
What do you,
probably within 12 months.
there's already 20 more things on your chair right now, so you better go open some mail. Thank you again.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Sure. As long as you make me look good and thin.
Oh, look at what you get in the
Just
box.
kidding, you can't do that. Shave my beard for this.
Yeah, please do that, please.
Oh. It's been a while since it wasn't an iPhone. Did we get one? Let's see what we got. That looks surprised. Looks a little surprised. Hey, how do you crop that? Have a great evening.
Good night.
Thank
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let's review what we.
What you heard.
What was that?
It's a review what you heard.
Yeah, review what we heard.
I liked him a lot.
I did too.
I
I really liked him.
I really
Yeah,
liked
I
him.
did
I
too.
He
really
seems
did.
very personable.
Yeah, he's an
Okay.
excellent
We'll let you know.
communicator. I
Yes.
mean, he just,
He's a money man.
can
Yes,
say, yeah.
I really
I
liked
knew
him.
you would, yeah.
That's when he
I
said,
seen
"What's
the
my
girls.
biggest
Yeah.
Saver
Yep.
too.
And it wasn't
challenge?"
a
He's
cookie.
a,
Well,
he's
when
a
he said, "What's my
saver.
biggest challenge to you guys?" and I was like, "Down there, that end. That's your biggest challenge." There's cookies. Make sure everybody gets cookies.
I wonder where people got the
Anybody
cookies.
got
Did you
anything
make
they
them?
wanna
Yeah, there's
review
a
here?
lot of them right
Lois?
inside the door. There's
Oh,
molasses, there's oatmeal raisin, there's snickerdoodles and meal bakes, and
Well, I'm having a cookie.
Do you want oatmeal cookie?
these ones are oatmeal raisin. There's
And they're good, and
molasses.
they're good.
There's molasses in
His
there,
name
and
is
then
Alan, his last name.
It's
snickerdoodle
all
and
bowls.
I had
Are
one.
you
of them.
sugar?
I'm gonna wait for
Do you have
A-U-E.
sugar?
No,
Well, then have another one.
I want to try the molasses. I got it.
those are my favorite.
If you had brought the no bake down, I would've had enough.
Well, I only got one cake, cause I don't got me feed my baby.
I don't want one.
Marie?
Well, I wanna know what they thought. I mean, he's dealt with Indians.
Nope, they're just regular raisins.
He seemed to
I
have
was-
knowledge about the money.
I was happy that he was an administrator at the county, even if it was by default. At least he's done something like that. No, I was very impressed with him.
Good personality,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
80%.
Yeah, exactly. He's
Yeah,
got
that
a
is-
really good
he does have a
personality.
good personality.
I don't think he will live here.
No, it sounds like he thinks he's as close as he's gonna get.
He's-
That saves
he-
us 5
He has a fiance who's a
Oh,
principal,
I'm sorry,
and she probably,
Diane.
she's a principal.
Obviously in Owasso.
And she probably has to live in the school district.
Maybe.
Well,
So,
if he's in the Wausau area, he's still within 20 miles.
he'll be within the 20, but I don't think he would live in town.
What? Nobody's talking?
I don't see the reason they need to live. It would be nice, but,
What did he say? What did
He doesn't
well,
think he
gee, I
will
thought
move.
you were gonna bring him.
Did you want a cookie?
They just
I'll
went
go
by,
get-
they just went by.
No, but she flew right out.
Down here,
I don't need it.
There's a lot of them.
And I didn't even eat one the whole time I baked.
No. That's the best part, the raw.
They don't bring it back.
It was more so me telling my niece, Braylon, get out of it.
Are you ready for the next
She
one?
kept doing this.
I believe so.
I don't know,
Anybody else got anything
You
to say?
guys have any
Well,
opinions on there or anything to say
Ah, I
about
really
this
liked
gentleman?
him.
Excellent.
How did you think,
really
Jim?
good.
Excellent.
Jim liked him too? I did,
Oh,
too.
yeah.
I really liked him.
So which,
Yeah, I tried, the only negative, true negative would be, well, there's two of them, to be, he hasn't really written too many grants, but he's worked with a lot of them.
Yeah, I think he just.
And the water and sewer, which,
You
yeah,
got good
he's
Don.
gonna be managing
got
it
good Don.
anyways. Yeah, he's gonna be managing it, so he's not gonna
We've
be,
got Hal here.
I know,
um,
but that would be it.
and it's been a
Guys are
farmer.
doing a lot of their work.
I think he is.
A true plus would be,
Well,
he
what do you
knows,
think I knew about
he knows the
water and sewer?
floodplain.
Yeah, what do you think I knew about it?
I know, he knows the floodplain, so he's not walking into this blind.
No.
He really didn't help my pension though when I called. Still taxing my pension.
I don't remember.
these are probably the fluffiest cookies I've ever made. Snickerdoodle. Mom, Rob.
I like that he was.
You wanna tell him about the mic?
Oh, that's what you're talking about?
Sorry.
You're right, Jim.
That's good.
Who's this?
And then it'll go green again.
Thank you.
Mom wine this time, so when I
Andrew, enlighten us about you.
Yeah, I know that.
Enlighten us about you. I believe so.
So, I'll give you a little history on, my education background, and then kind of some of my work history. After I graduated high school, I had a lot of friends that left, the mid-Michigan area. That usually, seems to be what happens in my generation, but I decided to stay and go to Delta College, where I earned an associate's degree in management. But while I was there, I decided, business management is not really what I wanted to go into, and I thought, I was on the student government there, and I decided to change my degree to political science. I went to Saginaw Valley, graduated with a political science degree in 2012. But the funny thing about a political science degree is there's not much that you can do. There's not much that you can do with it. So I decided to run for city commission in Bay City, where I live. Be a little bit proactive about giving to my community. Probably the same reasons why you folks ran for village board here. So that decision was probably one of the best decisions I ever made, because I realized what I actually want to do, and that was public management. So I decided to go back to college and then earn a Master of Public Administration from CMU. During that time, I work at a nonprofit called Michigan HRDI, and we do workforce development trainings. I primarily, I write grants for our organization, and I have helped develop 3 registered apprenticeship programs, and developed some training programs that oversee, train about 500 people a year. But most importantly to me, my college experience, my work experience, I wouldn't have been able to have done that without my family. I have a wife of 6 years, and I have two daughters, and I couldn't do any of that stuff without them. So, about me.
So what encouraged you to apply for this position?
So, as you see from my resume, I was a manager in Kane County. I was the interim city manager up there 2 years ago. So I've been looking for communities that are smaller size, that are more in my experience level. So that's why I decided to apply. I honestly said I hadn't ever come to St. Charles until before I had decided to apply. I came here one afternoon, checked it out, and then I submitted my resume. And so I like the small town. You know, Pinconning is a very small town. I really liked it up there. So I like that small town atmosphere.
It says here that you were interim city manager in Pinconning.
Yep.
How did you become were you working there at the time, or did they just bring you in? How did you become the interim city manager of
Yeah.
Pinconning?
So, their city manager resigned abruptly in the middle of a council meeting. And their police chief and their sergeant at the time, they just knew me personally. They said, hey, you know, we could really use some help while we find a permanent manager, so, that's how I was given the opportunity.
Okay.
And the council decided to bring me on. Quite honestly, I would have stayed there, but, they generally can only afford a retiree, somebody that doesn't need like healthcare type stuff, so, their pay level was a reduction from what I was making at my job, so I did that half-time while I worked at my nonprofit job.
Okay. And you liked it?
Oh, yeah, it's a great little community.
You have bargained with the unions?
Oh, yep, so I've actually.
Did they have more than one union there?
Yes,
Yeah.
they had a Teamsters local and a POAM local. And the reason why that manager had resigned was over one of those union contracts. So I was able to come out there and solve them, overcome the barriers that they had. And then we actually had significant savings to the city because you folks are probably familiar with this, with the small size of employment level that you have here. They were buying healthcare on the open market, which was very expensive for the city. I had, during the negotiations with the Teamsters, I said, hey, do you guys have your own healthcare fund? I was aware of that, and they were like, yeah. So I asked, would you be willing to cover our union and our non-union staff? And they're like, yeah, we can do that. So we were able to take the savings that we were paying from the buying healthcare on the exchange versus buying into their plan, and we're able to put that into the unfunded liabilities because they were their pension system was paying. There was 24 people in it, and 17 were retired, and so the remainder were paying in. So it was really upside down fund. So we were able to help start to steady that off. I mean, so it was a good experience for that. And then I've actually also bargained on the other side before. When I was a union representative for Meyer employees, and being on that side, I bargained on the union side, so that's why that's why it made it a lot easier in Pinconning, because we kind of cut through all of the all of the we're going to offer this, we're going to offer this, and meet in the middle. We just said let's just come to an agreement. So
Okay.
it only took us maybe 4 hours to hammer out the union contracts.
Okay.
It was quick.
Well, we have a new union here that has not, we don't have a contract with it yet,
So. Okay.
so, with police.
How do you view the relationship between the village manager and this council?
So it's an hourglass. Is how government should be set up. So you have council at the top directing the manager that's in that middle, and then the manager's directing staff. So I think that there should be communication between all the council members and the manager. Specifically, weekly conversations, yearly goal setting, opportunities, so we should, again, a goal-setting situation, we figure out what you folks want, and then I ensure that staff gets that done.
What's your plan to keep us all informed?
Well, constant communication. That's kind of really my management style as it is having one-on-ones. But what I think is pretty effective is doing weekly just status update. Like, this is the things that we've been working on this week. This is where we're our progress to your goals that you set. And so weekly newsletter and one-on-one conversations.
Do you do a newsletter or an email?
An email, yeah, that's
Really? Okay.
either way.
Well, now that we're on communication, say a disgruntled resident comes in with a huge utility bill and is really vulgar and upset, how are you gonna handle it being in your office if they're, upset with our front office staff?
Yeah. If they're coming in, they're yelling at the front office staff, my first thing would be to bring them to me, not to let the folks up there have to deal with that piece. But I'll answer this in an example. When I was in Pinconning, we had a tree service company came through on the weekend, and they're knocking on doors and, hey, you see you got a tree that's not looking too healthy. We can take it down. The city will pick it up for you. That's what they were telling these people. So we'll take it down for this price, and the city, don't worry about it. The city picks up full trees. The city doesn't pick up full trees. They didn't have the ability to, run trunks that are this size through a chipper. So Monday and then Tuesday, the few days after, when all these trees were laying around in people's front yards, the whole tree is huge when it's on the ground. There were a lot of people that were very angry, and so it was. We had to bring them back into the office so they weren't yelling at the office staff. We just talked, showed the ordinance of what we had. Like, we don't have the capability to pick up this full tree. You're gonna have to call that tree service back. Most people were fine with it, but there's one couple. They were adamant that we chip that tree and we take care of it. We stood firm to the ordinance that was present. The council and the mayor at that time, they decided to direct me to take care of the tree, so that's what we ended up doing. But we had to load it up on an excavator and drag it to our city dump. But it's bringing those folks out of the situation in front office staff, dealing with them myself, and in a calm situation. And I'm not a lot of things don't razz me, so I'm not a yeller or I just listen, try to diffuse, and see what we can do. So, but we got to follow the policies that you folks set.
What is your experience in writing and completing grants?
So in Pinconning, I wrote 3 grants to the Chippewa tribe up there, and I was successful at receiving about $70,000 from them. We also had a saw and ice grant that was about $2 million in work. So those I did not write, but I oversaw the execution of them, so working with the engineers. And then my job currently, I've written maybe 8-10 grants, 6 of them being successful. So, they're not municipal grants, but it's all the same. It's, research and such. So I've got a good amount of grant writing experience.
What is your experience with water and sewer systems?
Well, in Pinconning, we had the ICE grant, which was a significant investment into our wastewater facility. Then we had our SAW grant, like you guys had with the asset management program. You know, outside of that, you know, within Bay City, serving as the legislative end of it, I've been, you know, able to witness through Bay City how our city government there deals with it, but direct hands-on experience with the system, I don't have that much. If we're, with infrastructure in general, if we're replacing, I think it's good policy to kind of layer everything, so we're not taking out a good road to replace the underground underneath it. So we wanna either do a study on the road system, the underground infrastructure, and then target the areas that need it first, and then go on.
Well, you'll be happy to hear that, we just finished that last week. Last week. We do have, some projects coming up, and it's a water project. We're not gonna pave until after we do the water project. And it's something that we actually borrowed money from our sewer fund. And we're going to do the water and then write a bond and replace water lines and pay the sewer fund back when we write the bond. So that's all coming up within, well, part of it's next year. We've already approved the bidding of the project for the water line improvements. I was wondering, are you a fast learner?
I would say so. My job with the nonprofit that I work at it's health and safety. So I had to become an OSHA authorized instructor for the job that I have. And so I go out and part of it, on top of the grant writing, I go out and I train workers to be safe, you know, in their jobs, construction workers, and then workers in like a manufacturing facility. I can tell you, I've never worked a day of construction in my life. I've never worked in a plant, but I was able to go through the training process and you know, present that information with a good amount of knowledge of it. So I would say that I'm a fast learner, but that being said, if I don't know something, I'll ask. I never, I don't assume. You know, there's some people that are, you know, they can't admit when they're wrong. I can admit when I'm wrong, and I can try to find the information that's needed.
Okay.
So, you know, I think a lot of times with government, we get in our little box, like, oh, like nobody's ever done this before. But in Michigan, there's 1,800 governments. Somebody's done it before. We just have to find who it is and ask the questions of how you did it.
Okay.
We have the Shiawassee Flats, the river, and duck hunting is very large here. And fishing and deer hunting, and how would you enhance that?
Enhance like the recreation of like sportsmanship. I think just bringing awareness that this is here. You know, I'm a big deer hunter, and you know, I always go up north, but I actually never really realized that this was like a good deer hunting area until I started researching it. So you know, I should probably change it, because those corn-fed deer get a lot bigger than.
Yes, they do. They're quite tasty.
They taste
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, that's for sure. I always go up to Ogama, and sometimes those deer are really bigger than dogs. So, but yeah, so just bringing awareness to it. I think, like I said, following other examples of other municipalities, you guys have you have a great asset with the river, and that is, you know, tributary into like the Shiawassee Refuge, the Cass River that goes through Tuscola County is also a tributary to the Shiawassee and the Saginaw River. And what they've been able to do is they put kayak launching stations, wayfinding signs. It's been, I think, it's been an attraction for that area. I did, kind of an internship with, City Vassar. That's something that I helped work on. They actually had a restaurant come in with a kayak location, so they have a restaurant and a kayak location, so new business to their area came in just for that, because it's a regional destination.
Mhm.
I'm not a big kayaker, but people seem to really like doing it.
People do. Thank you.
We asked that our manager live within 20 miles of the village, and there's a $5,000 bonus if they move to within that area.
Inside the village.
Inside the village.
Yes.
If you move inside the village, there's a $5,000 bonus. Do you know, would you be willing to move or relocate to this area?
Yes, but yeah, wouldn't be able to like right away.
That's okay, we wouldn't give you the $5,000 right away either.
Oh, my God.
It's just, right at this moment in
Yeah.
time, it would not be financially responsible for me to uproot and leave, my daughters are in preschool, and it's at like a private preschool, and be on the hook for that, and selling my house, but, and then, I guess at that point, it'd be up to your determination on the 20 miles, because, you know, if it's, road miles, yeah, I'd live farther than road miles of, 20. But if it's where the crow flies, Bay City to St. Charles is 20 miles, almost exactly. So that's up to your interpretation.
Okay.
What do you feel is your greatest strength and weakness?
I think my greatest strength are kind of like relationship building and kind of a go for no attitude. I'll keep, you know, in Penn County, we had had our excavator, one of the hydraulics went out on it, and we had a water main break, so, you know, what do we do? So I kept just kind of begged the road commission, other municipalities around our area, I'm like, hey, can we borrow one of yours? Can we borrow this? Every time I get no, I'm gonna keep asking, and so, so I would say that that's a strength of mine. A weakness, sometimes I get bogged down in details. You know, when I did my thesis for my graduate program, you know, so I get into research in this, and then I'm like, oh, I find this interesting, and I kind of research something else that has nothing to do with what I should be doing. But that's probably my biggest weakness, is that sometimes I kind of get bogged too much in the details.
We expect our manager to attend all of like planning commission meetings, DDA, that sort of thing, and also to be active in the community. Can you give us some examples of things that you've been involved in other communities?
Yeah, well, in Bay City, I'm a member of the Lions Club. I ran for elected boards. I serve on the Bay County Land Bank Authority, and I've worked with the United Way on fundraising campaigns, things like that. So I try to help out where I can. So I do also think that's very important to get involved and be a part of those organizations.
Have you worked with the MML?
Yeah.
Worked with them or just gone to their meetings, or,
Yeah, well, with,
so you go to their meetings? and-
yeah, I've
okay.
gone to their conventions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, when I was, in Vassar, Brian, their city manager there, him and I went to, lunch there, I met with them, I try to, you know, get good things, to Vassar. He was always trying to get them to write, stories of Vassar in their, the magazine that they have, so.
Okay.
To just draw awareness to it, so. Yeah, so I've worked with them on that, and then recently, I've been, trying to get on some of their boards that they have. It's, they're a great organization to build, you know, awareness for, municipalities, issues that they have.
They are.
Yeah, our manager is responsible for preparing the budget every year. What kind of experience do you have with budgets?
Yeah, well, my nonprofit is, depending on the year, but usually it's around, $1.8 million, total all funds, so I work with our financial manager to, all the grants that I worked on, I put the budgets together. In Vassar, this last time around, I helped, work with their, treasurer to put the budget together. And then in Bay City, I over, you know, on that, you know, your side of it, I, served as a, you know, to read through, to make sure we're spending money in the right places. So, I'd say I have pretty good experience with it. I put one together, you know, from start to finish on the municipal side, but I worked with Vassar, to do it, and saw and understand how that process works.
I'll ask one as a manager. I've worked for this group for 3 or 4 months now. They expect a lot out of you. So you gotta be able to multitask.
Yeah.
How are you at that?
I would say I'm pretty good at that. I was able to balance, you know, having a full-time job at my nonprofit on top of, being the interim city manager in Pinconning. So those, the nonprofit job has me driving all over the state. So, there's a lot of, you know, time during the day that's kind of wasted because, you know, if I'm driving to Kalamazoo, it's a 3-hour, 6-hour round trip, and I can't, cause I don't touch my phone when I'm in the car, so, there's time when I couldn't do anything, so I had to make up for that. And so multitasking is definitely something I had to do.
Maybe I missed this, but what encouraged you to come to us for this position?
Well, I had, you know, saw the posting, and I came to the community and kind of checked it out, and so I decided to apply then. But you know, I'm at a point in my career in the nonprofit world that if I don't make a branch off to what I want to do, I'm gonna be stuck in the nonprofit world. So I would prefer not to do that. I love my job at Michigan HRDI. We get to help a lot of people, but it's, I can tell you, it's not my passion. I think, you know, local government can really impact lives, and it's just my interest. I enjoy it more, so that's ultimately why I applied, because it's, you know, a community, you know, to start off in, and but with that being said, I'm also not interested in bouncing around, to, you know, 'cause there's some folks that they go small, and then they, you know, just keep going to the next one, the next one, the next one. I'm not interested in doing that. I've got 2 small kids, and I don't wanna move them all across the state all the time, so.
And what do you feel you can bring to this community?
I think that, I can, well, the first thing, there's a redevelopment ready certification that, I helped work with in Pinconning. And the, kind of the way that the state's going with that is, in order to get, you know, access to like MDVC funds, you gotta have that certification, so, that's like day one. I'd love to, you know, start that process. You just try to, so by doing that, you try to expand, you know, economic opportunities, for folks in the community.
We have some bridges that need to be rebuilt between the council and our employees and our community. What experiences have you had in doing that?
Yeah, in Pinconning, when I came up there, it was very divisive, cause they were, as I said, they were in the middle of that union contract for the police officers, and there was a lot of folks that just wanted to get rid of the police department. They were gonna get rid of it, they were gonna contract with the sheriff, but there was a big community outcry against it. So there was this, kind of just butting heads with the community and the council. So, yeah, what I did is I brought folks together, to come in, we had meetings, we did like a goal-setting session. We had folks from the public, we had folks from the council come in, and we talked about like where we wanna see our community go. So that we were able to, produce a document that said, this is what we wanna do as a community, and we did that together, so. I think sometimes when, as council members, you represent the community, but, sometimes, you need a second time for the community to come in, and give their opinion, so, I think doing something like that would be helpful, bring everybody together and talk about the community, hammers on issues. I believe that, just more open communication breaks down a lot of barriers. When we, I've served as commission, every year on the city commission in Bay City, we vote for leadership. So we vote for a commission president, and I've served on it 2 times, as commission president, and both time, it was kind of, we started getting a little bit, it was a fractured board. And what we started doing is, we went out and we had a beer after meetings. Not a quorum, it was always, one less than a quorum. We invited folks from the media, we invited folks from the public. We didn't talk about anything that's going on, at the meeting. We didn't talk about any of that. We just talked about, hey, I saw you went on vacation, how was that? We talked about our families, and, sometimes, that broke down a lot of barriers. We're able to work a lot better after that, cause I think, this happens, local government happens at the county, the state level, and federal level. People, they don't talk, and nobody talks to each other. They just go into a room once a month, they vote on things, and then all of a sudden, this person, I don't like them because they didn't vote on it this way. So when you go out and you have lunch, have dinner, it breaks down barriers.
You're still on the commissioner, you're still a commissioner for Bay City?
Currently,
Okay.
I am still a city commissioner.
Can I ask which 2 city managers you hired?
Oh, yeah, we hired, Rick Finn. He was, and then, we hired our current manager, Dana Muscat.
Okay.
I assume that there'd be a resignation from that board if you accepted this job?
Yeah.
I don't think you can be on 2 taxing boards, can you?
You can, the incompatibility of office statute, the state law is, there's gotta be mutual contracts, or there's gotta be one board that's gotta be subservient to the other. And so if there's no mutual contracts, when I took the position in Pinconning, I resigned and, at our attorney's opinion, but, I subsequently had a different opinion, but I would resign.
So yes, you would resign that position?
Again, if we're gonna stay on schedule, we're about at the end, and I think you've asked most of your questions, unless you got something else.
Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, do I got a little time?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, sure. I got, and if I could, maybe ask this individually, what are your main expectations for the new village manager?
Different opinions across the board, but.
Yeah, yeah, that's individually, that's.
I think we covered that, is bring the community together. And, you said you came through town and checked it out. You're gonna have to learn what we need to use the flats. You're in a floodplain, make everything work, get more people to use it, get more things here to get people outside to use this area. That will draw more people in. We've got the school system, we've got, I mean, the infrastructure's there. We've got a river, we've got the flats, we've got everything we need. Just gotta figure out how to use it. We've got the rail trail.
Yeah.
Just gotta make it work.
Yeah, in Vassar, it's kind of this, a lot of similarities. They have that floodplain that, they no longer.
We had the same flood.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We did.
So, they actually.
It was us in Vassar.
We worked with the Saginaw Basin Land Conservancy, and they're planting native wildflowers. And so in that area, they created a wildflower garden, and that's what we were writing grants for, was to bring public art to that wildflower garden, so folks have a nice little place to go and to walk through. And then, if the water's ever come up, well, it's wildflowers. It's not structures that it's going to destroy.
I'm looking for a manager that will bring this association together, the council and the employees. It's been a little divisive, over the last couple of years. And we need someone that's gonna come back in here and, so that we all know what each other's doing, and we could,
Yeah, we
it
need to
used
be
to be
kind
like
of-
one big happy family, and it's just not that way right now, so.
Now we're all like ex-wives and husbands. Oh,
We're
we're
all ex-wives and husbands. Not quite that bad.
But there,
I mean, that's what I'm looking for someone that can draw people together rather than separate people apart.
Yeah, I think that just, come in together on non-village functions, we're just, let's get together and have meals. We had, in Pinconning, we would, in the morning, every morning we come in, we had all the staff, we'd just be in the city hall. And maybe one or two council members would come, we'd all have coffee, we'd just chit chat, that's a council member, and then we would, at that, that point in time, we'd set expectations for the day, and this is what we wanna get done. So that helped out a lot up there, cause it was a lot of the same stuff. I guess and then I have one last question, if I could. What are the key issues, that you believe, the village needs to tackle outside of, that, employee, council, administration relationship?
Right now, we're doing, water and sewer.
Yeah.
And kind of drainage, well, we've kind of thrown drainage off to the side right now. So we have water projects coming up next year, the bids have already been approved to be let out. Then we have a bonding issue for water. Sometime over the next 5 years, we just raised water rates, or are going to,
Yeah, I read that.
yeah. Streets, the streets will have to be paved as we do the water lines and things like that. And we have already set up a fund, a special assessment fund for streets. I think we've got 156,000 in there right now, and we add about 70,000 a year to it, so it's kind of there. What else are we doing?
very active DDA.
Oh, yeah, they're
They
happy
got
people.
pretty good
Yeah.
fund coming in there.
They have their own money, so they're doing a lot of things, and you would be the executive director of that. Well, you're actually, the village manager here is everything to everybody.
It is, yeah.
we do
It's
expect a lot.
just the
from
way
the
it goes,
citizens.
yeah,
It's the same
Yeah.
thing in Pinconning,
yeah. Yeah.
I'm looking for a really good communicator, back on your question, to communicate not only with, the council and with the employees, but to communicate with the public. Because we haven't had that here for a while, someone who can talk to them reasonably, easily, is open to somebody coming in the office, you know, if somebody comes in the office and wants to talk to you, that, yes, they can come back. I know that doesn't work all the time, I'm not, you know, but, just to be willing to do that, to talk to people, listen to people, even if you disagree with them, to listen to them.
Yeah, sort of. You know, I've served in public office for quite a while, and I think, you know, when you go out, you talk to people on the front porch, and ask them for their vote, type thing, the one thing that always gets me going, my wife would always she'd call me, text me like, hey, are you okay? I haven't talked to you in a long time. It's because I was talking to the same person for like 2 hours on the front porch. I would have to say, I am a talker. That might, maybe, I don't know if that's a strength or a weakness, but, you know, I think that it's important though, to let the residents know that you care, you're there for them. I mean, you're paid by them, so you should listen to them.
Yes.
Tell her you'll
Absolutely.
meet her on the front porch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it?
Yeah, those are the questions I got. I just wanna thank you all for your time and a little bit of time to get to know me. And I think my experience, my education, does kind of make me a stronger candidate. And hope that, you know, we can, you know, create a community that's welcoming, sustainable, family-friendly, economic development, and, you know, break down those barriers in communication, like you said. So, thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
They hope to make a decision fairly quick, and we'll let you know either way,
Yep.
as soon as we can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are great.
Get that guy to the left.
I photobomb a lot.
Good. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
You know,
Come back to a different meeting. When you got a manager?
Then you got it.
We do. In review,
Huh?
in review,
I wasn't impressed.
can't hear you.
I wasn't very impressed. I don't know.
I think he lives in Bay City, he plans on staying in Bay City if he can.
I think you got that
Um,
right.
And you know, he talked a lot about Pinconning. He was only there 5 months.
Yes.
I don't know.
I'm,
Goal setting sessions, we tried that with the last one. It doesn't work.
It was on paper, but.
I don't know. I feel like he just tried too hard to impress us. You know what I mean? Yeah.
No, yeah.
I feel like he just,
Kind of over pushing.
yeah.
Well, if you,
I was trying to read
and be
between the
careful how I
lines.
say this, but if you've watched the Bay City Board work, it's nothing like being in this room.
No,
You know,
yeah,
and
that's
so he
a
would have a
big
hard time
jump.
coming down to that, maybe.
Yep. No, I think he's got a lot of strong points, but, I'm not
I think he's a
sure.
grant writer.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're looking for a grant writer, that would be the one.
Yeah, I think he does great, a good grant,
You know what?
so to speak.
What bothered me the most is his lack of expanding on any question we asked. He answered that question, and that was it.
Yep.
There was no expansion on,
Expounding.
yeah.
The biggest for me is he doesn't know really anything about this area.
No,
I mean, he said he applied because it was a small town
Yeah.
and it was at his skill level. Well, I want someone that's gonna go more than their skill level. They're gonna go above.
I don't know. What'd you think, Diane?
Okay, but not great.
Not really
I
shaking your
wasn't
cage,
really
huh?
No.
over impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't over impressed either.
What'd you think?
I thought he could
Well, I
probably do a
think
little
he can
better.
do an okay job with us, but I would put him behind the other guy. I
Yep.
really would, I
For
was
sure.
really impressed with the first guy.
I just like the first guy's personality.
You what?
I like his personality.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, he
He's
had
good.
better personality in the first place, but that.
I feel like this guy was really nervous, maybe, is that?
Yeah, I
that maybe I thought was why he was more standoffish.
Right.
I thought he had to go back to his notes
A lot.
more often
He had to
than
keep
not.
flipping to the same
Yeah.
page, yeah. He had it written down, he has the answers written down.
Right.
The first guy.
This guy,
This is good.
Yeah.
he kept flipping back to that second page all the
Keep looking
time.
up, looking up there.
Yeah, I like some of the things that he said, you know, he talked about, you know, he's being paid for by the public, which is kind of very important for these people to understand. If a resident comes in here, that's a taxpayer, they pay your
Yeah.
salary, you know, you need to treat them, it's
They sure do.
important. Some of the things he said that I liked, I just didn't like him as well as number one. Okay, that was my thing.
I agreed with some of the stuff he said,
Yeah.
it was fine. It was fine, that's the problem, it was fine.
Exactly.
It was sidetracked.
Just.
But we can't have that.
Yep, that's fine.
We got lots to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jenny knows we got lots to do. Can't play with the
We
details.
got one more?
Yes, I got one more.
Oh, yes,
We've got
one
some
more
more stuff.
and one more paper.
I didn't mean you.
This is,
David Adams.
Oh, we got one more.
I gotta tell you people, when we got down to Ohio, it was 97 degrees
oh,
and
Is there coffee?
98% humidity.
It is in the
Oh,
stainless
and
steel.
We got out of that car. I
To keep
thought
it nice and
we
warm.
would
Yeah, there's
die.
those.
You melted.
Get us in that
You're right in the
hotel
face.
room and you
You're
were
melted.
oh my goodness, it was awful. And that, the air down here from all the hills and just the moisture.
Just go home.
Everybody's
Something
sighing.
super hard here too.
Alright.
It wasn't
I
so
assume you haven't had a lot of supper tonight yet.
moist, almost too
Didn't have much
wet.
time, huh?
Yeah, and it's just awful.
Oh, I can't.
I'm not used to that, I grew up with it, but oh my gosh, I'm
yeah.
not used to it anymore.
We went the 4th of July down to Renfro Valley,
And
and it was in Kentucky,
okay,
and it's a hot valley, let me tell you.
yeah.
And it was like 97 degrees down there.
I'll take one of those. You can go get another.
You go get another one.
No, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What you're gonna do then, bring it over.
Yeah, bring the tray.
Kenny must be sick if he's turning down cookies.
These are
No,
good,
I
very
don't
sweet.
think that,
He was
These are
sitting
very
back, I
good.
don't think he was in
These are
it.
molasses,
Mm.
I don't,
they're very good.
Last masses.
I have to take one of them too.
I'd like a recipe
Yeah,
for
might
those.
as well
Oh, you
take
did
one of
take a
these
cookie.
molasses cookies. Is that molasses?
I'm fine, I
That's
already had a
snickerdoodle.
cookie.
That's snickerdoodle, molasses is another name.
I'll bring the other one.
These molasses cookies are
Yeah, we got, oh, I
fantastic.
don't care for those.
I already
Sure
had
can.
a cookie.
Okay.
Those are my favorite ones.
Oh my god, they're
Molasses,
good.
that,
Oh, no.
that's got a good molasses recipe, have you?
I would
Oh,
love
yeah.
I would love your recipe.
Come
I
on.
Had two already, thank
Oh, here we are,
Oh,
thank
here
you.
we are.
Hi, Dave. That's snickerdoodle?
Hi.
Hi, Dave.
Hey,
Mr. President,
Hi, Dave. I like your comment.
I can totally see it.
Yeah.
Oh, the way the sun was shining,
I'm serving
you
cookies.
can definitely see.
Oh, the other two are passing out cookies.
Yeah,
Jim.
they're. If you got, what do you got?
Thank
you.
Oh, you still got no bacon?
Yeah.
I would like one of those molasses, Jim. Yeah, this one.
Yeah, those
Oh,
are
I
my
might as
favorite.
well try one for Pete's taking them.
Oh, they're very good.
My grandfather was French, Canadian, and Indian, and his mother made molasses cookies. My
My
grandmother learned how to make them, and I've been looking for a recipe
My
for that.
mother-in-law made them with bacon grease.
But that was good.
I make my
Could have been one
It's
of
very
my.
hard because it's called for lard. She used bacon grease.
You doing Nick?
Moist, oh my
Oh,
gosh.
so good too. That flavor.
Dave, would you welcome you tonight?
That's
Please
good
have a
molasses.
seat of torture.
where you feel comfortable.
Can't put it outside the door. Okay. Shall we get started? Would you please tell us something about you?
My name is Dave Adams, and I was born at the corner of Fulton and Hosmer. Not that wasn't the hospital, but that's the home I came home to. So when we talk about roads these last few meetings, I've walked by the old homestead. At age 2, my parents moved to Sunview, and other than 8 years when I lived in Thomas Township, I'm back there now. Went to school here at St. Charles, worked at Healthway Pharmacy in Kimberly Oaks in high school, and my dad sat on this council, so I was used to coming to some of these meetings as a kid, as well as having police officers drop off the council packet. So I grew up knowing all the council members and all the police officers in a good way. And I think that's what led to my interest in public service that all of you are doing, or that Dennis is as village manager. So when I went to college at Michigan State, I went to school for public administration thinking I would be a village manager or a city manager. During that time, I did a college internship right here with the manager, Chris Newman. And I think the big project that summer was a grant process or application to get the village classified as a low to moderate income community, which made us eligible for housing grants to fix up some houses.
You went from house to house.
Yeah. So I walked all the streets at that point as well, in the early 90s, mid 90s. As that was finishing up, a couple things happened. I thought I wasn't sure I wanted to be a manager and move from town to town. I kind of wanted to stay in one spot. As you can see, since I'm still here in St. Charles, that was something that was important to me. And I had also, a classmate, Brady Lake, had started coaching football at college, driving back to St. Charles to coach. And I started to do that. So in order to coach, I kind of felt I needed to be a teacher rather than a manager. So I got my teacher certification and taught at Carleton and Swan Valley over the past 20 years. I mentioned that there was about an 8-year time period that I moved to Shields, but during that time period, Coach Lake had gotten the St. Charles coaching job and asked me to come back and coach with him here. So I spent 3 of those years still driving back to St. Charles in order to coach football. And for you sports fans, those teams were the last ones that beat Ithaca in the regular season conference. Was 2009 or 10, I believe. So 6 years ago, I left the classroom and became an administrator at Swan Valley as athletic director and student activity director. And so I've done that until this summer, when I had a neighbor tell me, Dave, the village manager job is open, you should look into it. So I did some research and applied, and the more I learn about the position, the more I think it is similar to what I'm doing already, just on a different scale at the school. As far as managing different departments, dealing with people, dealing with a board, being somebody that takes care of problems, hopefully before they go to the board or they go public. So a problem solver, somebody that can listen to people, find out what their problem is and take care of it, as well as to communicate with my bosses and keeping them informed as far as what's going on. So I probably jumped to many questions there, but that's what brought me here today.
Well, we ended up on communication, so how do you view the relationship between the village manager and the village council?
Well, I think the manager works for the council. So if there are things that the council wants done, this is public, but I'll share it. There are some people for my current boss that sometimes are like, geez, that boss is tough. But I've never had problems with them. And I think a lot of it is when he tells me to do something, whether I agree or disagree, I get it done. So I would view that as my job with you. If you direct me, this is what our goals are as a community, I'm gonna go to work and get it done. I suppose the other piece would be keeping you informed of things that are happening. And I come from a world as well where every night I'm texting, emailing to keep my bosses informed. So that, you know, we never want a surprise. And even the people that work for me are instructed to keep me informed so that when I get that phone call from the public, I already have some background information.
How would you do that to communicate with us?
With you, I don't know what's already set up. I don't know if you receive a weekly email. If you do, that's something that's in my head, to send you an email every Sunday night. This is what happened last week. This is what's going to happen in the week ahead. If people aren't in email, then as I mentioned, when I was growing up, we were receiving packets from the police department, but that's something that everybody's in town, so nobody's too far. I could deliver myself, which is good because it puts me on the streets, whether I'm walking over, riding my bike over, driving over.
So you would just do that as we wish, then, you know, according to what we want, right?
So
Yeah.
if we said to you,
Yes.
we want a newsletter every week, I don't care if you have to sit there an hour and try to figure out what to put in it to make it look like you did something that week, then you would give us one. So it's consistency, I think, is what we're looking
Yes.
for. What we had before were these things that would just pop up. I don't check my email all the time. I'm old. I don't do that.
I got like 11,000.
You know, so if it was coming at the same time every week
No, it
and you
was
could
there.
find it, that would be
You'd look
fine.
at it.
Yeah.
You'd look at it.
Right, yeah.
That's more what we're looking for.
I like I said, let's say a weekly newsletter email.
You don't even have to fill a whole sheet or
If
just make the type bigger so that it fills the whole
And
sheet.
we
So we can read
You
it.
can see it.
although I think that one, and obviously an exception, if there's something that's going to be on the TV5 news, I'd probably
We
be
wanna
calling all of you
Yes.
right then and not waiting for an email.
Yes.
Yeah.
With that, you might not check till 3 days later, and
But we do have one
Just so that
member,
5 on.
yeah.
we have one member who doesn't get email. And
So you'd have to call.
So you'd have to either call her or.
Or drop it off.
Or
at
Yep.
drop
her.
it off to her, okay.
dropping off a letter in the door is no problem, or if there was a set time, if that member knew I was coming, then I'd knock on the door. So
Okay.
That weekly newsletter did help because everyone got the same information.
Right.
And we knew, like Chris said, we knew when it was coming. And I can see your point, the emergency thing, give a call or email.
Well, that's different. I'm just talking
Yeah.
about, just to keep in
Just-
touch, just to,
Every week.
we don't run in here all the time. You know, we don't, well, some of us don't run in here all the time.
And likewise, if you're contacting me, I'm used to things where, hey, if there's something that needs to be done at some point, here's an email, which is a good reminder. If it's something I need you to do right now, then it's a phone call or a text.
Well, and there's a packet. You have to put a packet together every month of the agenda, and we like written things with it so we know what it is that's on the agenda. That was lacking lately too. It'd just be on the agenda and we had no idea what it was or why.
Having the
A lot of
background
surprises.
Yeah,
information.
just have some background
Yeah, a
information.
lot of
there, so-
surprises.
Not you.
Well, that was, you know,
We don't like surprises.
like the last meeting, we got pictures of things put in our packet as
Yeah.
well, so we can have a visual of what we're talking about, that kind of thing.
It was a broken water main, but it was
Yes,
helpful.
but we
Yeah,
could
it
see, we
was
could
really
see
bad.
how bad
Yes.
it was, and now we
Yeah.
were like, okay, well, now we realize that.
He was here. He was at the last meeting.
Exactly.
And this would come in handy when you mentioned pictures. The last time I updated my phone, I made sure I wanted to get something that took good photographs for multiple purposes. you know, you mentioned it could be something that I'm sharing with you, but if it's something that I'm sharing with social media and putting out in a positive way, we want to do things that highlight the positives in the community as well.
Well, now that you said positives in the community, I know you've been asking this one with the Shiawassee Flats and the hunting and all of that. How do you plan to enhance the parks and the river in our community?
Well, you might as well ask the rest of the question because of
What did I
duck
miss?
hunting and deer hunting
hunting,
and
yes.
Yeah,
it's
And it
canoeing and kayaking,
kind
things
of
with the
gets you.
river.
yeah.
Well, I don't know what the relationship has been or how much interaction there is with the DNR office. So that would be something that I would need to familiarize myself with the personnel there and make sure there's open communication with that office. I think a lot of communities that are on the water, whether it's a river or a lake, are trying to do things to make kayaks and canoeing available. And I think this has been something that's talked about, whether it was in the goals here, is making sure our parks are accessible for that. It's probably a discussion. Is the park going to be involved in renting kayaks or canoes, or is that something that a private company is going to do, which as a government body isn't maybe really our job, other than talking it up and promoting it and trying to find somebody that's doing it where, you know, maybe it's as simple as if I hear of somebody that's talking about doing it in Chesaning, I go and talk to that person and say, hey, why don't you consider St. Charles also? So it could be things like that. You mentioned parks. One of the things when I tried to anticipate what the positives, negatives would be, I think we do have a good park system. I think it's something that people, when they visit St. Charles, have positive experiences. One of my worries has been, does it become too big? Because there's the Coal Miners Park, there's the park by the river. I think the village is doing a lot where the waterfowl was by the DNR, that if you take too much land, are we gonna spread our staff too thin where we can't take care of things? So that would concern me if we try adding more parkland or more parks,
Yeah, I
making
think
sure we can
we're-
handle it.
We're more working with what we have. We don't wanna make anything else non-tax paying.
Speaking of which, what about budgets, Dave? Have you ever written a budget?
I have not, other than I operate under a budget.
Yeah.
I think both personally and professionally I'm pretty frugal, as evidenced by at times living with my parents. But
Yeah, we've all been there.
I like a lot of things. Even when I became an administrator for the school, there was a lot of, in that first year, of talking to the other administrators and finding out if you had questions how to do something. So in my first year, I'd be talking to past administrators such as Chris Newman and Hal Mead, and people that I know in other places, whether it's Russ Thomas in Thomas Township, Rob Gross in Saginaw Township, not being afraid of picking up the phone and saying, hey, what do you recommend on this? As well as working with all of you to look at the way that's been presented to you in the last 4 or 5 years. Is that something that you're comfortable with? You want it in the same format? Are there other ways of presenting that I could make changes, or, you know, kind of working together to find out what you want in order to get it done?
All right.
Do you understand at all where the money comes from and like where all of, like if I said to you, revenue sharing, Act 51 money, do you understand any of that?
Well, revenue sharing from the state of Michigan, Act 51 with roads.
Yes, okay. So
I-
you're aware of where our
and-
income comes from and taxes.
Yeah, property taxes,
Yeah.
millages.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I had my millage bill with all the different taxes listed.
Study it.
With the different county
Yeah, all the stuff that
villages
comes out.
and the schools. So, yeah.
Do you have any experience working with unions? We do have one union.
I was a member of teachers union. I was in leadership as well, so I was a officer in my union at one point. My work now, many of the coaches they're teachers who are union members, so it comes up as far as does their union contract affect some of the things with coaching, but I haven't had to negotiate with a union as an administrator, if that's your question. Of course, I work with, whether it's custodians, bus drivers, teachers that are all union members and have to be cognizant of what they can and can't do.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
How would you handle a difficult resident? You know, residents do walk in this office furious, and they're starting on our girls up front. Okay, you're back in the office, what would you do?
I'd come out and find out what the problem was, unless I thought, my first thought was I'd invite him back to the office in order to get him out of the public spot.
Right.
We also live in a day and age where I have to be careful of bringing people back behind that door that could be a threat to the office staff. So,
Except you're gonna know them. You're gonna know them.
yeah,
And
and
you're
that,
gonna know who they're related to, and you're gonna know all that stuff. So, makes it a little bit easier.
and that was one of my thoughts at the last council meeting, where I had thought, geez, if when we have a resident here that I knew that my hope was that if I'm the village manager and that happens a year from now, that's something that we take care of before it even comes in front of the
It
board
was tried. It
and
was
the
tried,
newspaper.
but we knew it was coming. So, yeah, sometimes you just can't fix that stuff yourself. But
I'd like
most
to,
times I would say yes.
I want to intervene just a minute now. That's a good point for a question I got, because I had to go through the same thing. I left Emily City and went to St. Louis for my last term of full-time management, which was my hometown. My dad lived there, my sister lived there, my brother lived there, my nieces lived there, my nephews lived there. And I was a little worried about perception of the citizens to how I was treating them, or I was a little bit worried about them wanting favors of me. And kids I graduated from high school from, how was I gonna interact with them? And it worked out perfect, but I was worried about it. Do you think that's an issue? I mean, I had a nephew that got into the drug scene real heavy, and so the police had to arrest him. That put me in a bad position, but the police handled it good, and I think I handled it good, and it went smooth. But when you're from your hometown, it does make some unique situations. It could happen.
Yeah, it's something I've tried to think of, what are the positives and the negatives. And I think things have changed from the time when I was the kid and my dad was on the council, where I felt like I knew every police officer. Now, I don't think I know any of the police officers. And I don't know if that's because back when I was a kid, I think they all lived in St. Charles School District, except for maybe one. And now I don't know where they live, or if there's just high turnover. You know, I was in the community, but not involved in working at the school here, or working at the village, or working in a local business. So I've been around where I know many of the people, but not to the point where I don't think I'm related to anybody on the board, or any of the, you know, DPW or police, as I had said. So I think we'll be okay.
I think he's related to her.
To who?
Oh, are you related to him?
Yeah, it would be unusual if
marriage.
we're related to
Just
somebody,
through marriage.
because
Yeah, just
everybody
through
in this town is
Yeah,
related to
that's
somebody
true.
else.
You
It's,
can't get away
You
from it.
must, you
No.
must be related to somebody.
You just have to,
Jenny by marriage.
yeah,
Jenny by
you
marriage.
just have to be able to work around that.
Yeah, you do.
But it is an issue you gotta think about a little bit.
Yeah, you
It
do.
is, yeah, I
Cause
can
it's
understand.
more so in your mind, in the citizen's mind, it's saying, geez, he's talking to his dad, is he giving him a deal, or is? You just cut his water bill in half for him, or?
Yeah,
It'd also be a problem if people would know where he lived and just show up there at 10 o'clock at night all mad.
but you know, they
Well-
don't do that.
They don't?
They don't do that.
Well, that's good.
They catch you in a grocery store,
Yeah.
but they don't come to your
Public.
house. Yeah, they don't come to your house.
I think one of the things I've realized in my current job, where many of the coaches were people that I used to work alongside and they were my best friends, but when you have policies in place for employees or for the public, you follow them. And it makes it easy. You know, you mentioned whether it's a water bill or dealing with a complaint, if you do it the same way for everyone all the time, it lessens your problem, and I think people appreciate the fairness.
Uniformity.
Yeah,
And I'm okay. I think I'm used to getting yelled at from, I've learned from, or dealing with complaints. And I find a lot of times people aren't upset with
With
me.
you, they're just
It's the
what's going
situation.
on.
And once they get a chance to vent, they feel better.
Yeah.
And they feel that somebody listened to them. And I know there's been talk of, well, if you're, whether you're the manager, the school superintendent, you don't shop in the town you live in, or you don't want to go to church or the restaurant because you might run into people. I'm the opposite. I want to be here because I think if I'm at the football game Friday night and somebody wants to come up and take care of the problem, let's get it taken care of then, or let's get it taken care of at the Frank's checkout line. I'm okay with that.
Okay, which you mentioned water, and what do you know about water and sewers, the water system and the sewer system?
Well, I'm aware of some of the things you've been doing, and that it in some sense, we're at the mercy of the city of Saginaw, and changes and costs that they may pass on. I've been pleased, it's always, when you talk about roads, my fear has always been in any community that, are we gonna fix the roads, then knowing that we have these 70, 80, 90-year-old pipes underneath that are gonna burst and we gotta tear up the roads. So I've been happy to see, sounds like the council has been aware of that and started to fix the pipes first and wait till that's done before working on the roads. I am on the Saginaw County Road Commission, less than a year. I've also been on the land bank. So like when, I think it came up at the last meeting talking about or in the last couple months, the burnt house on Bell Avenue. So, you know, things like that, when I see that, that's in my head of what are some ways that we can deal with abandoned homes, or fixing up the roads, or fixing the pipes and sewer and water and drainage.
Back to budgeting. So you're frugal, you said that.
I think
You
so,
tend to be
yeah.
frugal.
Oh, that makes you happy.
Now, one of the
doesn't it?
first things, that makes me right. So one of the first things you're gonna have to do is start writing a budget in January. This budget is due April 1st. How do you plan on figuring out how to write this budget between now and January 1st?
Multiple steps. I'd be looking at what's been done, as I said, the last 5 years.
The budgets are the easiest thing we have to read, I will tell him that. Don't go to the financial statements, stay away from those.
Oh, God, no.
Budgets are pretty easy to
And
follow.
I would believe that anything that the council has control to raise or lower is things that would be handled at your budget workshop. That there are gonna be many line items that are fixed and you don't have much say in, you know, whether you're gonna pay for certain things or not.
Right.
It's kind of
There's
baked
known
in.
costs, there's known costs. I'm just, that's the only thing that concerns me, that you've never written a budget before.
What about grants? Have you ever been involved in the grant process?
I mentioned the one we did with Mrs. Newman with the low and moderate income, but at the school have been involved in grants to on a smaller scale for school equipment, things that we might write for foundations, to the Dow Foundation to get new soccer goals. But that's things you're talking 5,000 to 10,000. You know, it's not talking a $200,000 or a $50,000 grant. But even those grants were things that I worked with people on. You know, you're constantly asking people that have been successful with it, and I would be doing the same thing, whether it's reaching out to Spicer and Dennis or Chris and Hal about, hey, have you ever applied for this grant? What do we need to do to be successful?
Well, I mean, we can look for a grant writer, but we also use Spicer to write grants, so
Yeah.
it's not like, you know,
You wouldn't
you're
have
out
to
there
do it
on,
totally on
anybody's on their own, it's,
It's
Spicer's been
important to ask
good.
for help.
Yes.
And it's important that you belong to the associations that go with local government, like the Michigan Municipal League, the Rural Waters. There's all kinds of things out there that you need to belong to. And then you'll get a networking system. The more people you know, the better off you are. Because there's always someone you can call, and there, like you said, you know, well, you said Russ Thomas, but it's Russ Taylor.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and he's been there forever, so he would be a great source. And all those guys, there's even a group of people, they meet the one Friday every month. They used to call it the Last Friday Club, but they changed the name to something else now. It was always called the Last Friday because it could be the last Friday you ever saw him. That's how tenuous the positions
Yeah,
are.
I've already talked with, Monday night was the Thomas Township Parks
Okay.
fundraiser, so I had already reached out to Russ previously to ask questions about the position and what he
Okay.
thought. And so I already have those contacts. And as I've learned in my current administration job with reaching out to other people, and also how I'm guessing there's high turnover as well in some cases, where even in my current spot, I went from the new person 5 years ago to now, out of the 22, I think there's only 3 people that have more time in. So that first year or so, you're asking them questions, and then 3-4 years from now, people are going to be calling me saying, Dave, how do we do this?
Yeah.
So, but that's comes from the networking that you talked about.
Tell us what your greatest strengths and weaknesses are.
I think my greatest strength is work ethic. That if I'm going to go above and beyond whatever the hours are for the job, that I'll be working all the time. Whether it's communicating, like I said, even if it's at the football game on a Friday night and people are coming up, then you're still doing. You're always on call as the village manager. I think one of the positives of being from this town is I was thinking about it where failure is not an option.
True.
In so many ways that
Yeah.
it would be important to make sure that it's successful. You know, I talked about wanting to go into public service, or whether I went into teaching. All of that is to make people's lives better, and so that would be what better place to make people's lives better than the people that I've lived with forever, and where home is. I think communication, my past 5-6 years has prepared me for that piece with the council, with all the departments, whether it's police, DPW, the office staff, any of the chamber board, DDA chamber boards, Lions Club, Christmas committees that I will be around and available for them. The negative that I always think my weakness is I don't think that I'm a very creative person. But I think I overcome that with the networking of I may not have an idea on what we can do with the water tower, but I can talk to people in town, I can call other managers, I can do some research, I can go to those meetings that the annual seminars and talk to people around the state and find out what they're doing with their water tower. That I found ways to overcome what I don't think I'm the most creative person, but.
And we're
Do you
at our
have any further
time.
questions?
Yeah, he has a chance to ask questions of us now, okay?
What would you like to ask of us?
Well, I've had some regrets in the last couple of days because I've had a couple of people ask me if they wanted me, if they thought I should have had them write a letter of recommendation to you. So I had said no, but I would encourage you, if you have any questions, to feel free to reach out to Mike Wallace, superintendent at schools. I had talked to him about this position and the relationship between the schools and the council. I've had county political people, county commissioners from both sides say, hey, we'll write you a letter of recommendation. And I've said, you know, I don't think we need that. But then I'm like, maybe it would have been nice. But so if that would have been important, please reach out to them. A couple questions. One, a year from now, to anybody, a success for the new manager, what would illustrate that or signify that, or what would the manager have gotten done in the next year that you would say, we've got a good one?
Those things that we directed him to. Right there,
Well,
because we missed that.
one of the things is, are we still talking?
For me?
We have some projects coming up, and those projects need to be followed through. There's that water project over by Union Court. I think that's very important to make sure that
Absolutely.
keeps going and gets done, and it's already started, so that should be helpful. And
Yeah,
then
there's not much.
the next one would be the bonding project, and if we keep that going, because that's gonna be over, what, 4 years? Before we actually start it, 3 years maybe?
Yeah, to start.
We wanna, less than that?
I hope so.
Okay.
Really,
Whatever,
I mean,
well, John will help with that
it'll be a
too.
couple of years maybe, but, you know, we're still 19, so that's 21, that's
Yeah.
not 24.
Okay.
3 years.
Okay, because we have some, it depends on if you're still alive after the water rate increase we just put into effect. That'll mean a lot.
Finding in town from Clark.
If you look at what Dennis has done, I mean, Dennis has just been fantastic while he's here. He simply did what needed to be done, let's put it that way, and he
Yeah,
just
but-
went
Thank
down
you.
through everything on his
Yeah.
desk, and,
Yeah, but
Well,
he
you did,
knows
you
how
found
to
all the
do
stuff
it,
in
you
your
know.
desk, it all needed
We're
to be
talking
done, it
to
was
a
all
man that's
placed.
never done it before, so.
no, but
It
to
would-
do the job, just do the
Yeah,
job.
yeah, do the job, but if you don't know what the job is, you can't just do the job.
Well, but you can, if
You
you
know.
listen to Jenny,
Take-
she gets,
yes, take-
whoever gets the meal, Marguerite, make
Oh,
sure
but
that you
then-
read the meal, so that you finish what they tell you to
Right.
finish, you know? You're gonna get letters from, oh God, what's it called now, Eagle?
Mhm.
Used to be DEQ, but now it's Eagle, and it's usually a letter that's telling you to complete something, so complete
Oh, you
it.
forgot something.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
it's,
And our girls in the office are great, they really
They
are.
are, they
they'll,
absolutely
they'll
are.
help a lot.
Yeah,
They're an asset.
yeah,
Ye-
you've got help out there. You just
If-
gotta
if
go
we-
get it,
If at the end of the year, we have communication, it's
absolutely.
working well, the employees and the council are getting along,
Oh, wonderful.
You know, that would all be,
Yeah, there's
Good.
different grades of success.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
that
the
would all
stuff, the
be-
infrastructure that Chris is talking about, that's great, and that would be, I mean.
A big thing.
Well, that
yeah,
has to
would
be done. It has to be
Exactly, that's
done.
what, that would be awesome if it got done the way it's supposed to, 100% to a T.
When?
It's not gonna happen. Good luck with that. But I wanna see more families. I got kids. And
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, we're all looking at moving. Everybody's looking out with the kids. They're like, man, I just don't know if it's still here. And we keep saying, it's still here. There's a way, it's still here. We just gotta find a way to make it work. And I want something in this town that we use that river, we use that flats, it brings the people that cannot access it. I mean, if you got a duck boat, you can go anywhere. But if you don't have a duck boat, you kinda can't use that river. And we can't always get out there to launch the kayaks because there's no stable ground. And we can't do it with the canoes because, you know, it's just not there for everybody. So I wanna see it, I wanna see a walk, I wanna see a dock, I wanna see a fishing platform, a kayak launch. I wanna see more kids in that school system, somehow.
Yeah,
Our
younger
community.
And
families.
you've already got that connection with the schools.
Yeah.
If that, to me, instead of seeing families leave, find a way that they say, yeah, this is actually where we wanna be. We wanna move to this town. That's a plus. That's a
Without
success.
spending any money. Okay?
I don't think you have no money to do that with.
Speaking of that, we've had a lot of people come here with their hand out, we need this, we need that, we need this. And the township isn't chipping in like they should, and it always seemed to be us all the time. Okay, we'll do this, that, and that. Every one of you spoke everything I agree with. You have excellent office workers with Jenny and Marguerite. Dennis, excellent.
He won't be here anymore.
I know, but he.
Sure you
You know,
will.
but he
He's got a phone, get the number.
Not just us being pleased about everything lately, you can notice it in the town, and that is very important, because if the town people are upset, you will know. And in the past, we had forms to fill out, complaint forms. I don't know whatever happened to them, but people would ask me, didn't I tell you? And I said, well, now there's forms, you go fill out a form. And things were never followed through. Now they are followed through, and that makes people happy. And the
Yep,
the
you did a
hard
good
work,
job.
the hard work and following through gets you a long way.
Yeah, if you do what you say you're going to
Yes.
do.
Yeah,
That's
and-
And
a
if,
big thing.
if you can stop the citizens, and they usually have valid complaints, you just have to figure out what the complaint really is, and then how you can fix it. There's very few that you won't be able to fix. Don't let them get from your office to this council room. That was my thing. Just fix it. And, it just goes much better.
My other question, on the biggest challenge that you see facing the village, we've kind of talked about that with different water issues and with
That is our biggest
quality of
challenge.
life of people maybe leaving the town.
And
so.
with that, it's gonna be working, and you know, you're not gonna please everybody.
Mm-mm.
Oh, God, no, you
Some
can't
want it
use
green
it, but-
and some can't stand the green. So you're gonna be working with the DEQ, you're gonna be working with the DNR, you're gonna be working with the people. They're all gonna say, it's great that you got that grant, you spent money on that, look at it. And the other ones are gonna say, why the hell did you spend money on that?
Yep.
You know, that's what you're gonna deal with.
Sometimes you
Or
can't.
why didn't you use that money for something else?
Yeah.
But you couldn't.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that really needs to be done is, I don't know, this is the only town that doesn't have a chamber of commerce.
Yeah.
And there's a
They-
little
they
small group
abandoned
trying
it.
to get that back, but that's half your battle with your Shiawassee Flats and
Yeah.
fishing and getting your stores working together.
But don't you have two people trying to put
Yeah.
that back together? So
But
there are
they're
people downtown
struggling,
that
I
are
think.
interested in it. I'm sure they are. Sure they are.
Final thing, I guess, process, what's time frame for a decision?
Oh,
and
soon.
Yeah.
It'll be soon.
Yeah.
Well, one way or another, I would.
You
like,
get
in
a
the
call
next-
from me one way or the other. I can't tell you the exact date, but,
Be very
I mean, we
soon.
got a background check to do,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff, so.
Did-
It'll be a little bit, but
that takes a week and a half.
We'd have to give whoever we're hiring time to notify whoever they work for.
Oh,
also,
absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
but I think he wants out of here as quick as possible. He's done.
Yeah.
He's
roast.
But he's leaving a clean desk, I heard.
I don't know.
Boy, you just
Finding
got an
all
awful
the-
look
A
there.
cleaner desk.
Yes. We like that things are being
I'm
done.
not gonna be here tomorrow and Friday, so nothing's gonna happen till Monday, unless they do it here in a few minutes. But as far as calls, it'll probably be next week probably before I get call on references and that kind of thing. I guess I gotta get direction from this group before I can tell you for sure, but we're not
And
gonna
it is
dilly-dally
just-
around with it.
It's just down to 3 people, so.
Yeah, shouldn't be long.
You made the final 3.
If
Mhm.
you did, you made the final.
Thank you.
No good feeling in that, is there yet?
Yeah.
Been here, done that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Appreciate you
Um,
being here.
I'm obviously not, well, I'm not applying for any other village manager jobs. This was something special that I'm willing to do if you'll have me. So I'm excited about the possibility. If you have any questions before a decision is made, feel free to let me know. Or if things come up during, but you need some answers, let me know. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shoot you. Already,
I'm gonna shoot him.
already she's just shooting.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even have a water bill.
You smile.
One more. Yep, you get it.
So my St. Charles tie
Good job.
I'm glad it's not purple and yellow.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't even been wearing purple when I ride my bike through town.
Okay.
Everybody knows better than that, huh?
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thanks.
Good to see you.
Thanks. I hope I didn't put you to sleep. I was worried
Oh,
about
no,
that.
sure don't. Thank you.
When I was doing my very first teaching interview up in Farwell, the superintendent got done, and that's what he said. He said, I was social studies. He said, if you were a math teacher, I'd have hired you right now. But I want somebody that's gonna stand on the desk and put on a show. And I kind of thought, well, in an interview, that's really not my style. I might do that once I get the kids in the classroom, but not in the interview, so.
Isn't that Beto?
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Well, what do you think?
Sounds like Dave.
I liked
I
him.
really do, but I just don't think that he's there yet.
He's never gonna be there. It's not that. It's can he do it?
The budget thing makes me nervous.
Well, he
That he's
just,
never.
But I really
Imagine.
I like him.
I
I
think,
do.
I think he would fit in fine. I think he would,
I think he's conscientious enough to
Yeah.
learn something if he
Mhm.
hasn't.
yeah.
And I think if
We
we
have
hadn't
a lot
had
to
that
learn.
first one, that Owie guy.
The
Yeah.
second one I didn't care for.
Yeah,
No,
right.
no, not
yeah.
at all.
'Cause
Yeah, cross him off the.
In my mind, I put Owie 1, Adams 2.
Yep.
And the Dietzinger 3. And I really like David Adams, and I think that he has a lot of good responses
Mhm.
about, if he doesn't know, check with people who do know, who have done the job and the whole thing. But I mean, that's just me, that's the way I'm looking. I was very, very impressed with the first.
I think
guy.
whatever he doesn't know, he can pick
Yeah.
up pretty quick. He's in the community. That's a bonus right there. He's from the community.
And I went into it with that idea because I like local people better, because
Yeah.
to me, when we had Chris and Hal, we had a good administration here, we really did, because they were local people, they understood the community, and I went in with the prejudice that I was gonna like David Adams best, but I came out with it not thinking that. I came out with, I really like that first, but that's me, I really like that first guy, that LA guy. That, pardon me?
I said I feel the same way you do.
And, so that's, what are we gonna do about decision-making on this? I mean, are we gonna,
So I'm looking for you guys.
Sit right here and
You
talk
can't
about
go in
it.
closed session
Yep.
and do it, so.
No, you can't.
it has to
sit
be
right
done in
here and
open
talk
session,
about it.
right?
You can do
Absolutely.
it
But
tonight,
did
or
we-
you can, if you wanna sleep on it, have a special meeting, or.
No, I think
Sleeping ain't
we,
gonna do much with it.
I feel like it's all fresh in our minds right now, so it's probably the best to do it.
Here's how I look at it. I came in here not to like, not, I shouldn't say not to like Davey Adams, but I didn't wanna come in with a prejudice for him
Mhm.
because he's from town. He was a year ahead of me in high school. No, his dad was. His dad was a year ahead of me in high school. I take that back. Yeah, this was but I did like him. I always thought of him as being very quiet, very, just not very outgoing, but he's changed a lot. And the interview tonight impressed me with the way that he answered every question, and he had more to say on every question, and he asked good questions, and he was much different than what I was prepared for
More
him to
potential
be.
than I thought.
Yeah, the first guy, I really liked him. He's young. I have no idea how old he is, but he's a go-getter. I don't know how long,
Which one?
Oh,
Howie.
No,
I'm not sure how long he would stay
Heck,
here.
whatever his name
I think with his wife a principal and.
Yeah, I don't think he's going
You
I don't think
he'd
he's
stay
going
longer?
far.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I think he'd stay here, yeah.
I don't want somebody that's gonna run in here,
No.
spend all the money,
I don't think he's.
and run
looking
back
for
out. Yeah,
is. Yeah.
I don't think
yeah,
so.
that's-
I don't-
that's good.
okay.
I mean, I do like that Dave is from town, and I like that people are gonna trust him because they know him.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that.
And his parents, and I do, I like Dave, I'm
I
scared
don't know him
because he
personally.
just doesn't know enough, I'm afraid.
I'm afraid of the budget. I am
Yeah,
afraid of the
yeah,
budget. I'm
exactly.
leery on that. That's gotta be done by, it's gotta be approved by March.
Yep.
Yeah,
Um,
I really
and
do
it's not
like
that
Dave.
hard to, it's not that hard to do. It's not like it's really hard to do. Most of it is laid out already because we've already put bids out for water and we've already, but will he remember to put all that stuff in there? You'll have to make sure, see that he would do that.
Yeah, you do it.
See, we'd be relying on you a lot this first time around.
Yeah.
The BSNA
Absolutely.
software is really easy as long as we know what it is.
Mhm.
You know, we can go in there and edit it, and the book that we give you guys is just an Excel spreadsheet that we adjust. So
Mhm.
if, you know, he seems to be like he would actually listen, he's not hard-headed, he'll like work on it. And this, like,
Yeah,
we
it's
have
just-
the
it's not
bids
that
and stuff like
hard to
that.
do. You just have to understand where the money's coming from.
Right.
And where you want it to go to, and then you've got this little tiny pot over here that you can spend any way you want.
Right.
Sometimes, but we've kind of spent it already this year, so.
Yeah, you're all right,
So
yeah.
what do you
Yeah.
think, Chris? You think that he's gonna be able to handle it?
I think he could, but I really liked the first guy too.
I
Yeah.
like how,
I did like him,
I
he's
liked
very
his
personable,
personality.
but,
Yeah.
you know, like you said, how long is this guy gonna be here?
I think he'll stay.
I think
I
he'll
don't
stay.
think he's going anywhere. I don't. I
You
mean, I
don't?
like
Well,
Dave.
he doesn't
I
have,
think
he
Dave
doesn't
catch on
have
real
That's
quick.
all.
I do.
children.
I mean, I'm
But
only
the
looking
first
for,
guy-
I'm only looking for 5 to 7
Yeah,
years.
but
I
the
mean,
first guy, I think he'd hit the ground running.
I honestly
Oh, I
think
do
that
too.
Dave would stay longer than that.
I
But
think,
I think Dave would be here.
Yeah.
Oh, I think
Like
Dave would
he's-
be here forever.
Yeah,
This is,
Yeah.
this is a
This-
job he's looking for.
exactly.
I think the first guy would be more. I'm thinking DPW now. I think he'd get more out of the DPW than Dave would.
I think so too.
Yeah, I see
Because
him,
if they,
as- yeah, the
if he
first
says,
guy.
I wanna get this done,
Yeah,
then,
yeah,
they'd
yeah,
be
yeah,
hearing
yeah.
about it, where
Yeah.
Dave, he might say, did you ever think about that? And
Yeah.
I don't know, I just,
Mm-hmm,
he's a little more
Good point.
laid back.
go-getter,
Oh, yeah.
and, but I don't think he'd push him too hard, I don't know. What'd you think?
I like
You don't wanna say nothing, do you? Don't if you don't
No,
wanna.
I like them both. The second one,
I don't.
please, no.
Yeah, that's the,
Yeah,
So we're just gonna annex that?
Well, I think the second one's gone already.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I liked how Ollie, seemed to have the resources, and if he didn't know it, he would
Know where to go.
know where to go. Dave, I just know him, not really a ton, just the few interactions that we've had in the past, at family stuff and around here. I think he's very frugal, like he had mentioned. But I think he would do a good job out in the community with people, because I have seen him coaching and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So I think
That's a rough
personally, he
job.
would do a good job. He would communicate with you
Coaching's a rough
guys, so
job.
it's,
I think
you
the
get
two
it.
times he's run for commissioner, you learn to
yes,
talk to
Toughen
people
up.
Yeah.
and get out there
Yeah.
and go house to house and,
yeah.
Could he be tough on employees that aren't getting things done? Not you, Jenny.
I get after the guys.
Yeah,
I mean, if somebody come in and hollered,
I think he would, but I don't think he'd do it he wouldn't be as quick to respond to an issue, I don't think.
Do we wanna vote tonight for a
I think we
choice?
should.
I think
Yeah.
we
I
should.
do too.
I think we
do
should,
too.
yep.
but I still wanna hear, what do you think? Don't do that.
No,
That's,
Mr. Coots, he wanted to speak.
oh, no,
What, you
What
wanted
do
to
you
say
think?
something, Kenny? Well, say it quickly, succinctly.
Thing I wanted to say was, I think what you should have some type of contract set up that you don't know whether whoever you pick as number one is gonna accept that contract or not, and how far you're willing to bend on it,
oh,
that possibly maybe the second one then might take the original contract you had set up.
Audience is not supposed to speak.
The audience is not supposed to speak?
no, but on what he said, I don't have a problem with either one of these guys. I feel so much better this time than the last time around. So if the first guy does not want what we're willing to offer, then we just go to the next guy.
Well, your motion to hire, if you do it tonight, would be subject to reaching an agreement on a contract and the
okay.
good
With that-
results in the background check
With that
Yeah.
person,
with that person. If
And-
that don't
and-
work out, we'll go to number two.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That's
why
the way
it's
it
better
always-
to
that's
work
what-
tonight, so
I think so.
first
Do
of
we-
the week, I can start making calls.
Yeah.
So we would vote for a number one and a number two, is that correct?
Well, you can use your actual names now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now we can.
yeah.
No,
it's
but
out
I
Oh,
there.
wait, she's gonna put it in the paper and they'll know before you call them.
oh yeah,
I'm sorry, I can't do it tomorrow, Friday.
No.
I'm committed.
You're gonna put this in the paper, aren't you?
well.
Paper don't come out till Saturday.
She took the pictures.
Saturday, Sunday, I mean, I've got the pictures.
Yeah, she's got the pictures.
Coming in here, I was either going to be writing, articles about all three candidates or the person you picked.
Well, just at this point, just write about all three
All three.
candidates then,
Because if we pick somebody tonight
right?
and you can't do anything until Monday,
Yeah, that
they're gonna
picture
read in the
be
paper that they're not the choice.
And that's not.
Yeah, that's
good.
not fair to them either.
No,
no.
So I feel like,
What
I
say
don't
we, what say we,
But we
I-
have people
I-
from
I
the
don't know.
community that
Yeah,
it's out there
exactly.
anyways. Tomorrow it's out.
I think if you don't say it's number one and number two, just say that
Negotiate.
we're gonna hire this guy subject to reaching a contract and him passing
Still
the
gonna be in.
background check. And-
but I don't think that they should hear it from the paper before they hear it from us.
Well, if you do it tonight, I can take it home and call him from home tomorrow.
Do I
There
do
you
that?
go.
That would be good.
There you go.
Yeah.
just let them
Just let
know
'em know.
what's
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
up.
Just let them know.
Yeah.
like I said, paper don't get published till Sunday.
I do
Are
have
we gonna make a
just
motion
one
then?
thinking for like meetings and
Well,
stuff like
I
that.
don't think that we.
If he's coming from
actually got
Owasso,
number
is that
one,
gonna be a
number
problem
two.
for him
Yeah,
being here at the DDA meeting or
we'd have to
staying
take a
after, you know,
vote
if he's
between us and then
coaching
make a motion
there
on that
too,
vote.
that's the, I'm just
Right.
thinking,
We have
cause
to make a
logistics with you.
motion first and then vote.
let's make
That's
those
okay.
guys
Well,
leave.
that's up to him, Jenny.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
that's-
when you're closed,
He's
right?
gonna have to be able to be here by
Okay.
that time, cause that's gonna be part of
I'm
the
making it
job.
from 70 miles away, you had to
Yeah.
make
I'm
it
just-
15 or 20.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
the only thing I was
yeah.
thinking.
you know, if that's a problem, then, he's gone.
Okay.
So, that can't be a problem.
No,
we can't
I don't
do
think
it.
so.
No.
Just terrible.
They're wondering because it's further away, if he would have a hard time getting to the DDA meetings early in the morning. Not our problem, that's his problem.
Absolutely.
I mean, I feel like he doesn't have,
That's
Well,
not
he-
that far.
yeah, it's not that far of a drive.
They can always
Owasso is
change
20
it if they
minutes.
want to.
I mean, you know, everybody in this town gets up. We used to get up and go to work in Saginaw.
I mean, I used to work in
Everybody
Owasso,
here, you know?
so.
Everybody gets up and goes to work in the morning. You gotta be there at 7 o'clock, be there at 7 o'clock.
Some of us
You
only
gotta be
drove
there
a
at 4,
mile.
be at 4, yeah.
I drove 45 minutes until here, so.
Yeah.
Isn't it nice?
So,
Okay, back to these people.
back to the discussion of the two.
Now, this is the total opposite last time,
Do
because
we
I
have a
teach.
consensus of what we're going to do, or enough to make a motion, or are we going to visit this a little bit more?
I don't think visiting it more is gonna make any difference at all.
No.
I don't either.
All you're
We're
gonna
all
do is
pretty well
forget what they
set
said,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
mean, us, visit
I know.
number 1 or number 5,
Well, it's Aoi or Adams.
or Adams, yeah.
So let's start with A, okay.
Okay,
Yeah, they both
Good,
are.
everybody.
They're both A.
Somebody go to
They
A
both
last
are.
night.
Adams has to come before Howie.
He does.
Are we waiting for a motion then?
Does anybody
I
else have
believe
anything
so.
else to say? Jim, you think Aoi because,
I think he'd hit the ground running. I do. I
Okay.
think that right now, with everything that's going on, I think he could do it. He's got connections for what I would like and for the direction I see. I
well,
think
he has what,
Dave
he has what I like, he has
would be able to
budgeting
do it, no
in there.
problem, but I think Howie would. And for me, the fact that Dave is from the town and he knows the town and he's here,
Mm-hmm.
that means you've got all that free, I mean, I know it's basically a salaried type, but
Yeah.
he's here answering questions when he shops, he's seeing it, he's
Always in the public.
always there.
Oh,
It's like
you
it's like
live
a
it.
full-time
You live
employee
it.
that
You
you're
live
getting
it.
for half the price.
You live it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I just like that. But I do think that with what we've got going on right now,
I wish he had
and
more monetary experience.
working with the DNR and
I
DEQ and
think
everything,
Howie had a lot of experience at the state level.
I
He
think
did.
so.
I did too.
I think he
He
would.
knows
And I
a
like
lot
how
of people.
everywhere
at
that
the
he
state
worked,
If he
level.
wants something out of Lansing, he'll go to Lansing and
That's-
talk to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good, that's a huge positive.
That's how this project on Ian got done.
Just-
Yeah, you drove to Lansing, yeah.
I didn't, but I was on my way.
No, but you were on your way.
I know, and it's so hard, because they're both, I think they're both good in this situation.
So I would vote Howie right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same.
I would too.
Well, somebody wanna make a motion? We haven't even discussed a salary.
Oh,
Well, that we have to get into if they pass background.
Yeah,
check.
that we discussed with the candidate,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Don't we have
We
one?
turn
No.
this down.
No, we decide.
And then discuss it with
Well,
them.
but you don't, we
We
don't
have to
have to have
see.
him to call him.
We should have
We'll
asked
have a
him what
meeting
he
with him at some
expects.
point.
That would have been a good question.
That
Should've
might
asked
be
him
a-
Well,
what
they
he
all know what
expects.
we've been paying,
Do
so
they?
they're gonna be,
Okay. They're gonna be right in
they've all been
there.
on
Making
line and seen the.
I would,
I
they
think
must have
Dave-
been
I
okay
think
with
Dave's
the salary.
making, I think Dave's making more than what we're gonna pay.
Okay,
Not sure, but.
he
the
probably
road
is,
he
And
is.
Swan Valley, I think, makes pretty good.
Yeah.
money, I would think.
he is.
So do we have a motion?
I'm gonna enter into the breach because I think we just need to do that. I'm going to make a motion that we offer the position to Mr. Howie, subject to, the background check. And if Mr. Howie, does not wish to accept it, then we offer it to Mr. Adams.
I will second that motion.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Roll call?
I think you gotta go roll call.
Sarah Tiley,
Yes.
Jim McPhail,
Yes.
Diane Dennis,
No.
Christine Newman,
Yes.
Richard Horner.
No. Sure.
Lois Tyler?
Yeah.
Diana
Okay.
Coots?
Yes.
So we've got two
5
no.
and 2.
Do we have what?
5 and 2.
yeses and 2 noes?
Motion passes.
It's a hard decision.
It's really hard.
Why didn't you say what you wanted?
Hmm?
Okay, never mind.
You didn't speak up on
You
that.
didn't speak up and then you vote no. I'm just curious.
I got what I wanted,
Okay.
but there's more to everything.
Have you ever heard of trying to get people on your side?
Yes, he has. Oh, come on. Yes, he has.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Who has a question? Oh, you have a question.
I have a question. Okay, so you decided this much. Can I put that in the paper?
Yes, if he's gonna call
If
them
he's gonna call
tomorrow.
them.
Yeah, cause it's,
Yeah,
yeah, you might
As
as well
long as
publish
they
it
know
it's
because
not coming out. till
tomorrow
Sunday.
morning, I mean, who
No.
knows who's
As long
gonna
as
know
you don't
what.
deliver that
Come on,
paper
send me
tomorrow.
the very earliest.
Okay, yeah, so then it'll be fine.
You
As
know,
long as you don't
incidentally,
deliver that paper
Do you
tomorrow.
want all these?
Are we
guys?
doing any
public
comment on
Yeah.
that?
Did I mention we on North Main Street are not getting?
If you
citizens
want, you
involved?
can request it.
I don't want anything, 'cause I wrote a lot of stuff.
Well, you go on Ithaca Road.
North
So Sarah,
Main,
you sent
we're
me
not
the
getting
agenda sheet.
paper.
Newman